Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio, the only show that I usually have something prepared, but today I don't have anything prepared. I'm your host, as always, Ryan Knightsey, and with me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, Scotty Edwards. Scotty, how are you doing on this fine Sunday morn?
I am so tired. I did not sleep at all last night, but I am
boy.
here. I am here. It's snowing again. 2 Sundays in a row. So much snow.
How did the snow go last week? You know, you shoveled that
Last
day?
week wasn't too bad. This week's 6 to 8 inches, so a little worse.
Well, I thought it was like 6 or 8 inches last week.
It ended up not being as bad. It only ended up being like 4 to 6. So,
okay. So now you have more.
No big deal. Yeah. Now we have more. I would like it to stop. I would like the snow to stop. I didn't sleep because I watched this damn Grand Slam show, and then I just could not sleep after that. So, hell of a combination. But I'm here on time. Well, we start a little late, but I digress.
Yeah, we always start a little late.
We always do. But to the people that are listening, hello, how are you? I'm excited to talk about a lot of good things, some not so good things, and the usual week of wrestling news at this point.
Yeah. By the way, check your microphone. You get a little poppy on my end. So I don't know if
Poppy?
Yeah.
From NXT?
Yeah, you're getting a little poppy from NXT on your microphone. So if you don't mind checking that out. Yes, thank you, everybody, for checking us in this week. We appreciate it. Big time show for us, I think, this week. Got a lot of stuff to talk about all over the globe. It sounds a little bit better, at least out of that cough. There's a lot of stuff for us to talk about this episode, so I'm excited to get to it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Just so you know, it got colder here. I think last week we talked about whether it was in the 70s and now it's in the 50s. So
wow,
darn. I think we had a thunderstorm that kept my wife up last night, but other than that was pretty much it. So yeah,
and that's
sorry,
weather
Scotty.
With Ring Post Radio.
And that's the weather report. But beyond that, hope everyone had a good weekend. Hope everyone had a good Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day, or just a nice day if you are single. A nice day to relax and enjoy yourself in whatever way that means.
I was trying to figure out where.
Hold on. Whatever way that means. Wink. Sorry, you were saying something?
I don't know. Just go. Yeah, I can't stop it.
All right, let's start this goddamn show. Welcome to Ring Post Radio. We got a big time lineup for you all today. Of course, we're going to start off with Grand Slam Australia from AEW this week, or literally the show that took place last night. Then we'll talk
2 hours ago, actually.
Basically 2 hours ago.
By the time it aired.
We'll talk, of course, about some of those confirmed AEW releases. I guess would be the best way to define that. New beginning in Osaka with New Japan. Big time show out of New Japan earlier this week. Feels like a century ago, but a lot has come out of it since then as well. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll talk about a little bit of Noah, Star Navigation Premium. There's a DPW show today that won't come out for a week, but we can preview that if we wanted to. And that's pretty much the show. And I'm ready to get into it, Scotty. So let's talk about AEW Grand Slam Australia. Of course, this was the not greatly heralded, but like badly heralded show by everybody, saying that this was a show that was going to be. There was one reporter that like put out an article that said the show is in shambles or something like that. It ended up, of course, selling 10,000 plus tickets, being the third largest gate in AEW history. Now, granted, we can all agree that they bungled a lot of stuff going into this. We talked about it last week where it felt like a lot of miscommunication on so many different ends. And of course, there was moving from one arena to a smaller arena. Honestly, I think that was in practice, I think that was a better decision, especially with the size of the amount of people that they get. Made a more fuller sound. I think that all worked out there. But then you had the show itself. Scotty, you said you watched it live. What time did it air live? I did not watch it live.
Okay, so I was finishing watching USA versus Canada, and then I think started at like 10:40
Okay, that's not
p.m.
bad.
Eastern. No, that's pretty
10,
bad.
10, well, 10:30 was the time I heard that was going to be like the roughly
Okay.
start
I
time.
know it started on Fight earlier, so that's kind of why I'm
Interesting.
thrown off.
Yeah,
Because I know people that were watching it 20 minutes earlier than everyone else, and I was like,
that's weird.
"Huh, interesting." Because I watched it on Max, and I watched it on delay by like I don't know 10 minutes maybe. So
You
I'm
watched it
probably still.
live on Max?
I watched it on delay on Max. I did not
Okay.
watch it live.
I
Sorry to hurt you.
I went to Max and I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay. So, fun fact, I learned this the hard way. To find the AEW version of this, you have to go into like BR Sports and then you have to go under replays
Mm.
because it doesn't go under the AEW stuff for like a week.
Yeah, so you can search on the Max portion of it and just search. You type in AEW, you get the
Yeah.
TV
If
shows,
you
the
I
special
usually just
events,
go to the replays,
hmm
like the replay, on
the
like a
live show
Netflix or
replay
whatever.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the first thing there every time. So,
Interesting, interesting. Well, I don't know how the show will ultimately do. Like it did air on TV as well, and obviously at 10:40 at night, it's not going to be a great.
after a terrible terrible, as I've read, NBA All-Star Weekend. So I can
Well,
only imagine what
I
the
yeah
combo was.
yeah. So I can't imagine do that. I think if anything, what the show will ultimately be is a test for Max, AEW viewers into getting them how much they can move their audience to going to Max, right?
Sure,
Like
sure.
to watch to seek out this show. Obviously, I think they have to have a great show for fans to even want to seek out. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But I think, if anything, this could be a test to try to drive people towards Max to be able to watch this
Yeah,
show within legal means, of course. So will that succeed? I think that's going to be a question for next week. That's like a question that will get out days later via the Observer or WrestleNomics. But we'll I guess we'll certainly see. But in terms of the actual show, like we said, it's getting great reviews on Cage Match. I watched the first three. I was trying to watch all of it, but my Sling app stopped working. I couldn't figure it out. And Max, like I said, couldn't find it in Max. So that's the difficulty. But you watched all of it, obviously, live. I watched the first three. You watched all five. So we'll talk about the show in order. AEW Grand Slam Australia in Brisbane, Australia, in the Entertainment Center in Brisbane. I thought the look was great. It felt like Grand Slam 1 in terms of that wide shot of, the entire crowd and lights and everything. I thought the look was great. The ring, small. It's very apparent that AEW didn't ship their ring over. They just borrowed a ring and put their own stuff on it. I don't.
that's how rings work. Yes,
Yeah, so that's fine.
I don't blame.
It's more expensive to
There's
ship
plenty
their
of
own.
rings there.
There's plenty of rings in Australia, so that's fine. But it was smaller and it was a little jarring to look at. I don't think it fully affected things. I think for the most part, everything was fine, but it was weird to look at in a lot of ways. But we can
Kenny had
talk about it.
his ugliest Terminator dive ever, so I'm simply blaming the ring.
I don't know if because Osprey did his successfully, so I don't necessarily know if that's the ring. But also, I think it's part of the story of that match. We'll get into it. But I guess we'll get into it right now because it was the first match, which was, of course, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay defeating the Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. 21 minutes and 21 minutes and 20 seconds. Kyle Fletcher, the Australian, gets booed in the arena as well, which is nice to see. There were some people I saw.
That's mean.
There were some people concerned about about poor AEW booking of the Australians going to get cheered from his hometown. And instead he got booed because what is good to hear about that, Scotty, is it felt like this was an AEW crowd and not just like a general wrestling fan crowd, Australian wrestling fan crowd, because they cheered and booed properly, according to the stories that AEW is telling, I felt like, of what I've seen. So I think that is, for anyone that had that opinion, I think we can put that to rest.
It
But
helped they had more Australians throughout the show to cheer for too.
that's
you know?
yeah, and New Zealand's. But
I wasn't talking about Jay.
what would you think of the match itself? I thought it was pretty great. A really good hot start to have. It made sense to go with this match. But Scotty, what do you think of the match itself?
It was very good, but it was also underwhelming.
Mm.
It feels stupid to say something like that because it's like, if you liked it, then how is it underwhelming? It's like, have you seen these 4 wrestlers? Do you know what I expect from these 4 wrestlers? Like, I expect the tag match of the year, you know, that type of level. And I don't think for me it got there, but ultimately it was still a very good match with a hot crowd and a hot finish. So in the end, it's a success. But, you want me to be honest about how this set the bar. I was really hoping this match was just shuts out. I was really hoping that the match was the full on blow away, like, oh my god type thing. But honestly, I think it's okay that it wasn't, because you're doing this match to prepare for both singles matches that come out of this. And you want both of those singles matches to be better than the preview tag. So I don't have a problem with that at all. I know some people think this is the best tag match that doesn't involve the Young Bucks in AEW history. I do not agree, but
What
it's a
is
hell
the
of a
other
question.
what is the other match? I'm trying to
I
think.
don't know off the top of my head, but I was like, I'm not even gonna try to say that because I don't know.
I'm just gonna check Cage Match to see what they have. But go ahead.
But it was still very good. It established again the story. I thought Osprey and Kenny were fun together as a duo. There's something there if they want to consistently go back to that as time goes on. I thought the finish of the hidden blade into the one-winged angel was awesome. Like a legitimate highlight. That was very exciting. Takeshita getting pinned doesn't affect me because that's how you get Kenny the title match. Because otherwise he's never beaten Takeshita, or in AEW at least. So I think that was a good decision, and now it sets up Revolution with 2 marquee matches that anyone should be excited about. This show for me embodied exactly what the first Grand Slam was. Hot opener and then a bunch of other stuff after the fact.
Yeah, I thought the match was great. I thought it was legitimately great. According to Cage Match, the highest non-Young Bucks rated Cage Match user rating, I should say, is the Acclaimed versus Keith Lee and Swerve as the highest tag team match. Beyond that, it would be the one I saw live, Page and Omega versus Pentagon and Phoenix from 2020, pre-pandemic in Atlanta.
I mean, when you say it's those 2, it's like, okay, that's not like a crazy take, even if I don't think it's the best tag match like of the year or anything. Like, there's still a decent shot it can be the best.
Yeah, this match, the
big...
Grand Slam match is 6 on the list, which right behind the Page Omega Atlanta tag match.
6 on the list of what?
Of the best tag matches in AEW history.
Oh, damn! All right,
with 3 of them being Young Bucks matches, and one of them being Swerve and Acclaimed, and 2 of them being Kenny Omega tag matches, I guess. So yeah, pretty good, I'll say. The best one, of course, being Young Bucks versus Page and Omega at Revolution 2020. I thought the match was great. I think these are 4 great wrestlers. I do agree that I thought it was great, and I do agree that there is an element where I thought it could have been better, in sort of that disappointing way. But I think that could have been, for me, an expectation that this was the blow off. And I don't think that expectation is completely unfounded. I think in a lot of ways it felt that way. But in reality, hearing that promo afterwards and hearing the 2 Revolution matches that we're getting, it's like, yeah, that actually makes more sense as a blow off a little bit as well. knowing that at Revolution we're going to get Takeshita versus Omega for the title and Ospreay versus Fletcher in a steel cage match. That's obviously the blow-off. This being the middle of the road, I guess.
Yeah.
It works really well, and I'm happy to have a great match here in the middle of the road. That's very good. You had one other point to say. I'll say something else, but you had something to say there?
No, I was just gonna say that it's gonna be very funny that those two matches happen, and then Moxley and Edge end the show.
Yeah, I was kind of. I was without, after this match was over, I was thinking about that specifically. And I was thinking like, okay, let's say this was the blow off. I'll say, pretty solid one. You got Omega get his quote unquote win back from Takeshita in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It makes more sense, obviously, for him to go for the title. And I don't know why I forgot that, because I thought that was always going that direction. But I thought to myself, like, wouldn't it be nice?
Wouldn't it be nice? Sorry.
For them to go after the BCC for a little bit until, like, even just for a couple weeks, because then I presume that when they go to California in March, that's when the Young Bucks will probably return, and I presume that we might do Young Bucks versus Ospreay and Omega as a rivalry. And I was like, let's just have Ospreay and Omega go after BCC, or Death Riders, I should say, for a couple weeks, and then the Young Bucks come back and they get distracted. Like that whole thing of what we're talking about. Like, why don't they go after it? Oh, because they're distracted. Okay, they're no longer distracted. Now let's do the Death Riders, and then we can introduce another distraction, and that can take them away, and that could be something. But in hindsight,
I got a take for what that is. Moxley and Edge is just going to be now. So
yeah, we'll save that for their Brisbane brawl, the world famous Brisbane brawl. But yeah, I thought, in hindsight, obviously makes sense for this being a middle of the road. I thought it was great. Not top tier, it's not. This isn't better than Omega Kid. That's still very much in the running for match of the year. But this was a very, very great match because you have four great guys. I think, if anything, there's the story of the match, which I found interesting, was Kenny Omega being just worn out endurance-wise by I'll say these three other guys. He's in the ring with three young guns, essentially, especially Fletcher.
This reminds me of my take that I had watching this match.
He's in the ring with three young guns, especially Fletcher, especially Takeshita, and he is getting gassed. And I think, whether that be true or kayfabe, I think both are probably accurate. Then it works, and it sets up this idea. Kenny Omega is still a great wrestler, but he is slowing down, which is the reality of the situation, obviously, of Kenny Omega. He's not going to be we saw the return a little bit of that feeling in the Kid match earlier this year, but he's still the older guy in this.
That was a slower down match too. That wasn't,
exactly
all pace.
The fact that he would have lost, he would have gotten beaten by these young guns if it wasn't for Ospreay basically stepping in and saving him. This guy, basically this sub story of, despite getting the win, Omega would have probably eaten another loss from Konosuke Takeshita in this match if it wasn't for Will Ospreay. There's almost a dependence, you could argue, maybe could form with Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, because maybe
he's 100% beating Takeshita, by the way.
I think he is as well. I will say, though, I think he should win. I think I do expect him to get the win. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get the win. Right? I wouldn't be shocked at all. And I think that is what makes me even more excited for that match at Revolution. Because they are setting up this idea of Kenny is just the older, older legend.
It's him.
It's him. But the older, legendary wrestler. And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it because it makes sense for who he is and where he's at compared to these guys.
Watching this match, I was like, oh man, this is an off night for Kenny, because there was just a few things that were just off. The Poison Rana, for example, which was legitimately off. That was
that was, I think, an actual
but when he did the Terminator dive, he didn't hit it smoothly, and I was like, I don't know if this is Kenny being Kenny or if this is like legitimate, or it's a little bit of both. I think
Yeah.
that's very possible. But I guess that's kind of the beauty of what he's created in his time is you can almost see it be part of his character, which I think is fascinating. He'll never make me act like that Gabe Kidd match didn't happen though. So like I know I know what he's capable of again. But it's a good story to tell, especially heading into the Takeshita match now. I think it obviously creates a lot of excitement. That match should be sensational. My hot take, by the way, and this is for my personal taste, I think Takeshita is the best wrestler in this match. Current form.
I agree.
Oh,
I don't think that's necessarily a hot take. I think.
Well, I just feel like the Kenny and Osprey shooters, if they heard that, would like attack me.
Well, and trust me, I'm one of them. I guess technically.
I know, but you're safer. You know, I'm not as scared of you to be like.
Well, hold on. I've been working out. I think that is largely true. I think he's, it's tough because I think it's like
it's three great wrestlers.
Yeah, I think. Well, four really. I think.
Well,
like,
yes. I don't have Kyle with the other. The hot take was him over the other two. You know, like if I say he's over Kyle, everyone's like, yeah, no shit. But it's like.
But at the end of the day, I think you're doing like slicing between percentage points.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're all like A+ wrestlers, so it's like
I just think Takeshi's like.
Yeah, I think
like.
I do agree that Takeshita is above Fletcher.
To be fair,
I think in this match,
is the difference for me. Like,
sure,
it's enough.
It's millimeters for talking
to make the take. He's awesome, man.
I think Takeshita is definitely better than Fletcher. I think in this match, especially as part of story or whatever, he's better than Omega. He had a cleaner output. It's the versus Osprey that might simply come down to taste.
For sure.
But I don't think it's a completely hot take. Especially I think he's having. I think right now, who do I have? I haven't put my ratings in for this match yet, obviously. But I think I have technically Kid in my clubhouse leader of the year so far, and then Takeshita as 2. But I imagine Takeshita will overtake Kid.
Sure.
Yeah, Takeshita will overtake Kid when I enter this in.
Yeah, the thing about Takeshita for me is yes, he fits the style I like a bit more when it comes to men's wrestling, especially. But I also think he has a full understanding of who he is right now. And I think that helps him. You know, I think with Osprey, we're trying to still figure out like where does he place in the AEW system, right? And Kenny's telling his story and is just older. Takeshita, like, I mean, we're gonna talk about new beginning in Osaka.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy knows who he is. You know, like that guy gets it. And by the way, they should be using that same theme song in AEW because it's a difference maker. I'm just saying. It's just a presentation thing. But yeah, I just want to make that take. And the fact that you said it wasn't that bad. All right, cool.
I enter I have Takeshita as number 1 so far this year. Omega at 2, Kid at 3. Fletcher at 4, Sabre at 5. That's my top 5 so far this year. Currently.
Yeah, I don't even know where Osprey would be in my ratings. Like, I don't.
Osprey is tied with 6 with Hechicero. Big Hetchy, my guy.
You mean Takeshita versus Hechicero at
Oh my god! Oh,
anything.
At like, what's the?
Oh, Leyendas.
Oh, that would be good.
Leyendas show?
I was thinking never openly title match at one of the U.S. shows for New Japan. Don't they have one in California this year?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, they could do it in Chicago as well. It doesn't ultimately matter. Big Hetchy rules anywhere.
They can't do it at Chicago. That's Tanahashi.
Oh, good point.
Takeshi's gonna kill the old man.
I can't wait. Yeah. So I think I think the other one is in California, so they could easily just do Big Hetchy versus Resurgence in May in Ontario, California. Big Hetchy. Okay, who do I got to talk to? Rocky? Get Rocky on the phone. Big Hetchy versus Big Take. Big Hot Take for the Never Openweight title. That's the match you book in California for Resurgence.
And I just want to say about this match again, this show embodied the original Grand Slam to exact, because everything after the opening match I find a little bit forgettable. And someone sent me the original Grand Slam card, and I said, "Oh, I don't remember any of that. I remember the one match." So I think that's how this will go. Except there was a title change in the main, so maybe not. But that's kind of how it felt watching this show. Start off hot, and shout out to the Australian crowd, by the way. Great job all night long.
I don't disagree with remembering anything else in this card. Here's a nice little refresher for everybody, every one of our listeners. September 22nd, 2021, Arthur Ashe Stadium, Danielson versus Omega, time limit draw 30 minutes.
Main event.
Well, I'm going to go in order because the next match is great. What match? Can anyone guess? Scotty, I know you already watched it, but I guess you already watched it, so I can't even do a bit. But next match, MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr., Lexus King himself. Malachi Black defeats Cody Rhodes. Darby Allin and Sting versus FTR. That was probably a good match, and it looks like it was.
That was probably a good match.
And the main event was Britt Baker and Ruby Soho for the AEW Women's World Title. Britt Baker retains.
Of course it was.
So yeah, and I think
very
in a lot of ways,
card.
Very similar card. I think if anything, this one is boosted up a little bit. I mean, this match had this show had three
better matches,
3 title matches, a gimmicked brawl match, an all-time classic. The other one had an all-time classic, MJF versus Lexus King.
You want to know what I thought of this show when it was over? I called it a BWE pay-per-view type.
Okay. All right. You have seen. I have not seen the full show.
I have seen the whole show.
I'll
I thought that was more fitting than like their usual TV special.
Okay.
Right? Because like I feel like when they do their Grand Slam in New York, it's usually a bit, a little bit better. There's an AEW World Title match, for example. Not that I was asking for one on this show because I don't want that title anywhere near my face. But I don't know. We can finish the review. I have thoughts. I have continuous thoughts.
I think the expectation, and I think again, this goes to the miscommunication and expectations of this show itself. But at the end of the day, like Grand Slam has always been a TV event.
You're correct. Yeah,
and
the stadium thing or whatever at the beginning hurt this.
The stadium stuff hurt this. People expecting a pay-per-view quality thing. And in a lot of ways, I don't disagree. I think in a lot of ways, this is looking at the TV specials like Winter's Coming, Grand Slam, Quake by the Lake. Looking at more of
Great
those.
Balls of Fire. That's not theirs, but they should do that. Thank you.
I think Great Malls of Fire in Set Mall of America. Maybe that's not great because it sounds like you're burning down the mall. It sounds like you're burning down the mall.
Yeah.
Have an Inferno match for all I care. But I think like this being a B pay-per-view, I think is a proper expectation in hindsight. And even like looking at this, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like this isn't a world title defense. This is the world champion in a tag match.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
I feel like we should have known that when, the most anticipated match was a tag team match with no belt on the line.
Yeah, that at the end of the day, Scotty, was not the blow off, but a middle of the road continuation of the story.
In many ways, a preview tag.
True. That is very true.
Right.
So that's a good point. And I think realigning that expectation. I'll say, I mean, Scotty, I'll say comparing this to even the first Grand Slam, I feel like this card was a little bit better than the first Grand Slam in terms of output.
I mean, I don't remember any of the first Grand Slam after the first match, so I'll probably remember this.
Yeah, we'll check in with that in 4 years. We'll check in with that take. Next match,
hell of a trivia question.
Next match was Mercedes Moné defeating Harley Cameron for the TBS title to retain that title. 12 minutes and 50 seconds. Momo Watanabe was in attendance.
Moment of the show, folks. They flew to Australia just to stare at her from the crowd.
Hey, but what that does is that teases undoubtedly a pay-per-view coming down the line, right?
Yeah.
She's teasing Athena for the ROH April show, I guess. And then now we're sort of also
whatever that is.
teasing Momo maybe going after
Mercedes
here again.
again.
Hey,
I'm not saying no.
twist my arms either.
She's taking it all.
So I'm fine with that. But what do you think of the match itself? I think the match was not as buying into Harley winning as I thought it should have been. But I still think
close.
I still think the crowd.
I wanted to. Yeah, the crowd helped.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the thing about this match is that listen, Harley's very over, and I give her credit for that. And I watch people tweet for a whole week. She should be the whatever it's called, the winner, that's new champion. They should make a star out of her. And I said that would be insane. Like that's listen. I think Harley is the type of wrestler you want in this division because she's super charismatic. And she can make up for her lack of wrestling with that charisma. And I felt like this match ultimately accomplished its job. Was it great? No. But did it give Harley a chance? Did it have Harley be, a star? I think it did. And the thing is now with Harley, you just got to keep giving her reps, like if she keeps getting reps, there's going to be a time where I think she thrives because to me, her charisma will always keep her popular. Like she just is capable of so many things. And if she starts to figure out more in the ring, again, this is a woman that has like 60 matches to her name. Like this isn't a long time vet,
Yeah.
So like I have no problem with one, her getting the title match, and two, not winning because I don't think she should have won. There's other people that should be beating Mercedes. Two of them faced off on Dynamite the other night that I think will, kind of get more of a statement if they were to beat Mercedes. But Harley beating someone down the line is not a bad thing. It's just this is Mercedes Moné on an undefeated streak. That is her entire story, right? She's unbeatable. I don't think having Harley Cameron be the person to end that makes a lot of sense. Right now, this is how I'm seeing it. I think Momo Watanabe is beating Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's title, then dropping it to Mercedes Moné to give Mercedes another belt, and then it's Mercedes Athena at All
In. Ooh, yeah.
I've been pretty set on Mercedes Athena All In because they were the ones at the press conference.
Yeah.
Kind of like teasing that. And I feel like that's the best way to get there is one, Athena loses to someone like a Momo. That is a perfectly understandable loss.
Who someone they've already been setting up, obviously.
Right. And it also adds to the International Women's Cup. She successfully challenged for a title. Mm-hmm. Then you kind of get greedy. You challenge Mercedes on some AEW Dynamite or my pitch, All-Star Grand Queendom, because they want that show to be huge for Stardom. And I could see Mercedes be on that again this year. Though I feel like you probably want to air that on AEW, but we'll see. We'll see because the first one didn't happen in AEW. So that's why I'm like, I'm 50,
it could also Dynasty, I guess, would also. Well, maybe not Dynasty. Maybe not Dynasty. Actually, now that I think about it, because Dynasty is in April. That would be around WrestleMania, and that's when
essentially
that's when presumably you're doing the Momo Athena match.
Right. Essentially, you just want to do it all before All In.
Yeah, and that's in July. So I don't
There's a
remember
good timeline here.
I don't remember when the other pay-per-views are for AEW in May and June and July, June and stuff, but presumably there's
Double
more.
or Nothing. Double or Nothing
is in May. So
that's it for a while.
That could also make sense for Double or Nothing, giving Momo.
Is Forbidden Door after All In this year?
Ooh, I don't know. Have they announced it? Let's see.
Yeah, it's in London.
I know it's in. I know it's in London. I'm saying the date.
Yeah, I realize this.
August 24th.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, I think that's a possibility. I think it's a good direction. I think at this stage, Momo beating Athena is way more interesting than like most people. So most people, everyone, because you're not sending someone down there to beat her. So I
I do think
that
it kind of sucks that you couldn't build up anyone in Ring of
Oh,
Honor to beat
for
Athena.
sure. But listen, I am a Joshi person first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I am putting Momo Watanabe over before I put anyone else over.
Yeah.
But you are correct. I think that's a great direction, though. Athena versus Mercedes, that's the biggest match.
Mhm.
That's the biggest match AEW can do with their roster, I think. And then you can have Willow win the world title or something at that show, too.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think then I just think that's a perfectly laid out idea. Have Athena go versus Momo, establish fully the International Women's Cup with the first person winning
Yes.
a title. You don't want that to be meaningless, so you want that to
Mhm.
have a win. You can do that with Athena. You can then have Mercedes beat Momo, have a short reign. That's fine. It doesn't necessarily matter. And then do Athena versus Mercedes at All in Texas. That makes sense. Go Athena as the babyface going into that.
For the
For what?
TBS, obviously, not for the Ring of Honor. Please keep that belt away from her when she loses it.
Yeah, that's the question. Is what title is it for? I think I do agree that it should be for the TBS, but that's a different unpacking. We'll see where we are when we get there. I think that makes sense. You can do whoever else, but I think it makes sense. Going back to this match, I thought the output of the match was fine. Like I said, I wanted more of that selling point of Harley. It never got to the point of the 2.999 kick out belief system that this match really deserved and needed. It did a little too much puppet stuff, which is fine. Again, Harley at the end of the day is a comedy character, right?
Yes.
She's a comedy character that's super over, right? That's
Yeah.
the thing.
I did pop at her hitting her with the puppet. I thought that was like, okay, that makes sense.
She is and I say this in a nice way, she is the Santino Marella of the women's division. She is someone that is super over, but at the end of the day is just like a comedy character that isn't really gonna have a big title win. It doesn't really need it, I don't think. She's gonna maintain her overness.
If Ring of Honor mattered, that would be the perfect place to give her a title win.
Yeah, I think shuffling off to Ring of Honor and give her more reps, I think could also work. She's also a draw, so there's also that aspect of not being the Santino Marella is that Harley halftime show drew significantly for Collision, so
she's over, man.
You can't ignore that. You're gonna hate this, Scotty. You're gonna hate this.
Am I?
But if I had the ability,
you could send her
to send
I
one
think that's a good spot.
AEW women's roster member to Stardom 5-star Grand Prix.
That's fine.
I think I'm going to send Harley. I think I'm going to send.
I don't have a problem with that. I just said she had 60 matches.
She needs. Yes. She had. This was her 63rd match of her career, that documented. She needs the reps, and she needs them quickly. And you will get a very condensed version of that via the 5-star.
I wouldn't wait. I'd get her over there sooner.
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
Long way, right? She's someone that you want to benefit from, and maybe her story could be like, I need to get better. I need to be able to stand in the ring and be competitive. I'm gonna go on a trip, and she goes there, and she could be with Mina or something. Like that's the simple.
Harley and Cameron and Mina would extremely work. Send
Mina's
her over
hurt right now, but
good point. Send her over for the All-Star Grand Queendom in April, right?
Sure.
Have her stay there up in till through the 5-star Grand Prix, and you can have her
run for her.
How long is Mina out? I believe it's indefinite, right?
Yeah, it might be part of a story, so no one.
But Harley will essentially play Mina's character ultimately, I think, in Stardom. So I think that will work.
They would feed off of each other well.
Exactly. Even if Mina's not there, I think Harley will probably do the same gimmick, essentially. So I think that could work. I think that would be a good idea for Harley. And then look, it typically goes into like August.
End of August.
So that All in Texas would have already happened. Have Athena versus Mercedes for the TBS title. Have Harley come back, face Mercedes again after all this for the Ring of Honor title at whatever the next show would then be. And have Harley beat Mercedes there for the Ring of Honor title if you want to really go full bull with this.
Here's my big thing. I think Mercedes needs to be the world champion by the end of the year because I've said this before, she's already the world champion. She just doesn't have the world title.
Yes.
Um, we'll talk
And
about the main event.
what she needs to, the big part of that
She has
is
to lose
first,
everything.
she has maybe not lose everything. She has to lose a couple titles at minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I have a tough time thinking she drops the Rev Pro title to someone that isn't AEW that then goes there to drop that title. That's kind of how I feel about it because I just don't see her losing to like indie wrestler. I don't see her losing to like Alex Windsor.
I could see her
Be a good match
losing
though.
if I could see her losing to like a Tegan Knox if Tegan decides to show up
Oh,
at Rev
maybe,
Pro. You know what I
maybe
mean? I agree. I think the biggest person in Rev
whoever
Pro
she
would,
picks.
yeah, I think the biggest person in Rev Pro would undoubtedly be Alex Windsor.
Yep.
And I think that is what they would go with. But yeah, I think that's way too early to call for, at least for the Rev Pro titles. So we'll see, I guess. Moving on, the Brisbane Brawl, the world famous Brisbane Brawl. Death Riders defeat Cope and Jay White by referee's decision, with Cope getting choked out by the Bulldog choke by John Moxley. I will say, I watched this match with the volume off because my wife and I were having a conversation. So I don't know how the crowd's reaction was. The crowd's reaction was obviously big at the finish and calling the whole finish bullshit, which is fine, I guess. I don't
They
know.
liked Edge's theme song.
They did like Cope's theme song, you mean? Of course,
I
naturally.
will never call him Cope. I'm sorry.
I thought it was weird with Moxley being like, "I'm gonna break his neck," and then just like not doing anything. He did the bulldog. You did the bulldog choke, which choked him out, but like you didn't do anything. You could have.
This show.
I was expecting to do the concerto gimmick and then someone coming out to make the save. That's what I was expecting, and I didn't get that. I was like, "Why?"
This show had a problem with embracing the heat that the stories have created, and I'll get to that with the main event. I just don't like anything Death Riders. Okay, like that is the world I live in, so I didn't enjoy this.
Yep.
I'm also tired of the plunder brawl, so like that all mixing all that into one. I forgot Jay White was in this match. At times, I forgot Claudio was in this match because ultimately it wasn't about them.
Was it Claudio or Glacier or when he came out? that weird
like,
little mask thing.
Like, I don't know. It's hard to care. It's really hard to care, It's a shame because this is the world title feud. But
yeah,
as we've been saying for months now, it feels like it's time to pivot.
I think the hard part about it is
not to edge.
Yeah, I think we can all agree there. I think the hard part about this whole situation we have with the world title program is that even if this match is good, I think the average fan is worn, or at least the online fan is worn down a lot. You are worn down significantly. I'm worn down by this title program. That
I'd
it
argue
is
I'm defeated.
that I think we talked about this in the preview at the very least, that there is a difficulty there is a hill they have to overcome to get me into this match, especially getting into this title match.
I messaged you on Slack after I watched Dynamite, whenever, and I said I stopped at the Hurt Business. The Hurt Business.
Hurt Business Square.
Syndicate business. The Hurt Syndicate business. Listen, English is indeed my first language. Because that was great, and I thought the show was really strong there, and I knew what ended the show, and I was like, I'm not watching this. I'm not ruining my viewing experience.
The reviews of that show were basically, the show was great up until the closing segment.
They destroyed the world title. He said, "This is my thoughts on the AEW world title," and then he destroys it.
It didn't make any sense to me. I was like, so you don't like the world title?
You don't care about it. Got it.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Anyways. Yeah, I don't care. I just don't care about the Death Riders. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm going to say it until they lose the belts. And I think at Revolution, Jon Moxley losing the belt
To Cope?
to Christian Cage.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he's the pivot because him and Darby have history.
Cope obviously has history.
Also true. There's a lot of history.
You know, you could do the whole TNT title thing again, right?
Yeah.
You could just do Cope wins the title off of Mox and then
Would
Christian
be
cashes in.
kind of funny to just do it again.
Is that better? Is that better than where we're at? Yes.
Literally anything is.
I think that's better.
I hate the patriarchy. Don't enjoy it. Still better.
I think as feminist men we are, Scotty, we should hate the patriarchy, but go on.
Damn right. But then I thought about it, right? I was like, would it be better? And I was like, well, he is feuding with Samoa Joe. So yes.
He's feuding with Samoa Joe. He could feud with Darby. He could feud with Cope. And that feud, I think, was solid. I don't think that's a bad idea. That's not a bad pivot, legitimately. That's not a bad pivot.
If we're waiting until All In, we can't do Death Riders. And he's had the stupid briefcase since All In.
Yeah.
We can't wait till then for him to cash in on Darby. That'd be bad, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think you get that out of the way.
Yeah, him cashing in on Darby, I think, is the wrong move for sure. I still maintain that I think Eddie Kingston coming back could really revitalize this whole thing.
I agree.
Have I said that on the show? I think I've said it on the show.
I don't know, but you're right.
If I haven't said on the show, my big thing is that I think I want Eddie Kingston to come back. I think he's the best person that can come back and revitalize the Death Riders angle. Pivot. He'd be a great pivot. I think him coming back from injury would be great. Obviously, that'd be a great moment for the fans. His promo ability alone will get me more interested in this storyline. So he would be a great pivot. But even that, Scotty, is dependent on whenever he's able to come back. That could also easily be All in Texas. All in Texas. Now, Scotty, if you pivot Revolution to Christian Cage, All in Texas could be Christian Cage versus Adam Cope for the AEW title. Now, do you want that?
No, I don't want that.
I'm just saying.
Darby's got to be back by then.
It could be Bryan Danielson as well. We have to keep in mind that Bryan Danielson could be on that card at All in Texas.
You know what they need, man? Hear me out here.
A good world title program.
Yes.
Honestly, I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. They just need a good world title program.
We watched a company this week make the best pivot possibly ever when it comes to a world title. Just for the feels and the emotion and the longevity to get there, right?
A company that's learning to go with the hot thing,
yes,
and know when to do it.
It took their booker forever to do that. Specifically, learn from your partners. It's all I'm saying. I'm not even saying Christian Cage is the hot commodity, but in a time where I'm seeing everyone say, who is the Hiroki Goto of these American companies? Sami Zayn was a hot pick for WWE. I was like, yeah, okay, I agree. I saw some people say Eddie Kingston. I saw someone say Orange Cassidy, which disgusted me.
No, not Orange. Come on.
My pick is the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Briscoe. But either way, Mark Briscoe and world title feud, you know it would work. You know it. He has to get heated up, but you know it would work because Mark Briscoe makes everything work. Anyways, my point here is I'm okay with Christian winning if it's a means to an end, which is no more Death Riders, because I don't want to see them anymore.
And if that ends in March versus July, I think that would be a better move.
July is too long. You cannot wait until July.
I would lose my mind.
I'm losing my mind right here. This wasn't even the world title match. It was a damn Brisbane brawl.
The world famous. I'll have you know. I thought the match was good for what it was. Right, these are capable guys, but yeah, that's basically.
I was bored.
Yeah,
I'm just bored when I watch these people.
I think that's fair. Yeah, it's weird because the world famous Brisbane brawl looks just like the WWE's. What was it? A Shiny Brook, whatever that Irish gimmick thing they had was.
You know how I can prove my point? I'm interested in MJF in the year
No, come on.
2025.
No, you're not.
I
Come
am.
on.
I am because Hangman Page is that guy.
That's fair.
I
That
am
is
so interested in that feud because MJF has actually turned it on for once in his life.
fair. Mhm.
Now, we will see because I know he can, fall off. But for now, I'm interested, or at least more interested in him than I am this entire thing.
For the
That's
Adam
bad.
for the Adam Page MJF feud, best case scenario is it becomes one of the hottest feuds in AEW this year. Worst case scenario, it ruins Adam Page for me, which is I think both are on the table.
I think it becomes. I think it has the potential to legitimately be the feud of the year for this company.
Yeah, I agree. In the same way that I think it has the same potential to drag down Adam Page to MJF's
Sure.
level.
I don't know. Adam Page is like, to me, the one guy that just can't be broken. There's been so many times where you've almost broken this guy and he just comes back and he comes back. Like Dynamite was awesome because of that. And the Hurt Business, because fuck the Hurt Syndicate. I'll never call them the Hurt Syndicate. Either way, we hurt people. All right, continue.
Well, we'll continue with your reviews since I've not watched the shows.
Oh, yes.
Matches here. AEW Continental title, big match, Buddy versus Kazuchika Okada. Kazuchika Okada retains 13 minutes, 25 seconds.
I saw someone tweet, a podcaster, I think it was from We Work Stiff, maybe. Either way, I just saw the tweet like the morning before the show even happened, so I didn't really understand it. But the tweet,
I know they were there.
I think it was We Work Stiff because they're New Japan people.
They were also there in attendance. I know for a fact.
And I think the saying was, "I've lived to see Okada become Sonata," and I said, "That's hilarious."
I can also understand. I can also understand why they tweeted that at We Work Stiff because they're big Sonata defenders.
But
I haven't heard the takes on the new beginning of Osaka Sonata, but we'll get to that.
Dolph Ziggler. By the way, I told Sonata fans that, and they hated how true it was. It was great. I'll let you talk about it later. That's a good like
good little tease.
Just wait. This was fine. Like, this was a fine match. It was exactly what you expected. Okada was not working at his top gear.
Yeah.
Buddy Matthews was doing everything he could. It was essentially, Okada, can you be the base while Buddy Matthews wrestles?
Yeah.
My problem with the match, because of course I have a problem with the match, they did the same low blow Rainmaker spot. They do it so much where he's like, oh, the ref's distracted. Oh, low blower, whatever. Low blow, Rainmaker. Happens every match. I feel like Okada has.
Well, you see, Scotty, Okada is a heel, so he has to do.
I understand, but it's the
middle
same
fingers,
exact spot.
He has to do middle fingers and low
blows.
blows.
The ref's looking at him. He does the between the legs thing. He wins with the Rainmaker. We can just be a little more creative. God, it was a good match. It was fine.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it is when I look at it, but that lines up with basically what Okada has basically.
They did give Buddy Matthews a kick out of the Rainmaker, which I thought was a choice.
That is a choice. That is certainly a choice.
I think they said it was the first time it's happened in AEW, and I said, why?
Big match, Buddy. Every once in a while I'll think to myself, like, is Okada was always, in my opinion, like there's if I'm going to steal something from
Okada bad.
Well, give me a second. I think about, like, if I'm going to steal something from Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's these absolute points, right? This idea of like things that happen in history that were always going to happen, like, and no matter what. I think like Okada leaving was always happening with New Japan, right?
Yeah,
I think that's completely fair to say.
Could have happened in New Japan.
The only there are so many things that would have had to have changed, and like with Okada not to leave. I don't know why I said it like that. There were so many things that had to happen for Okada not to leave New Japan, And I don't think there's a reality where that would have happened.
No.
I think Okada was always leaving. But then I do think to myself, the change in our history is, would this Okada have been better in WWE, or would it have been worse? And I honestly, Scotty, this isn't great. I don't know if it would have been better. I think it would have been about the same if it was in WWE. Maybe it would have been hotter
That's
just
still
because it's
not
WWE.
great, by the way.
No, maybe it would have been hotter because it's WWE. But
Wow.
right now in 2025, but
Yeah.
this isn't ideal.
Yeah.
This isn't great. I mean, the idea is that we want to re-heal Kazuchika Okada, and to do that, he just has to be more healed. Gwen Evans in the chat, Okada and boom back shoulder pads.
This is not a look. Oh God.
Yeah. It is what it is.
You make a great point. As the person here that I think like doesn't have as many problems with W booking, because I really don't care. Like it's basic, simple. It's what they do.
Yeah.
I've watched people complain about the WrestleMania card all week as if the WrestleMania card has been made. I was like, there's 2 matches on it, and we knew both of them. Like, what is the problem?
The last thing I heard was Io Sky was at a title match at WrestleMania, and she didn't even make the Elimination Chamber qualifier.
She's wrestling on Raw. So that whatever. But like, I don't care, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, Okada would be better off. I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. You know, like,
look.
He would try less.
I also agree. I think
maybe being more over, but he's very over.
I think that's the problem with Okada, is that if he was in WWE fans would have come up with some excuse about why he's phoning it in, much like Shinsuke Nakamura and his surfing. In AEW, the fans want to see the wrestling output of Okada, and they're not getting it, so no one's going to make up some shitty ass, dumb, stupid excuse for Okada on why he's phoning it in a little bit. Now, at the end of the day, Scotty, maybe none of it matters, because maybe in July we'll get Okada Omega, and I can't imagine Okada will phone it in there.
No,
but at that point, if I have to sit through a subpar big match buddy Okada match,
fine. Like, it wasn't subpar. I thought it was fine.
Sure,
it's just like it's what you're used to with Okada now.
But if I have to sit through that to get to Omega Okada, fine. Fine. I'll take it.
It's like the opposite of the Death Riders. You don't want to sit through anything to get to Darby. You just want that to end.
Yes.
With Okada, you're like, you know what? I'll deal.
Yes,
I can live with this.
He's not on TV enough for me to really get frustrated.
Also a problem, but yes.
Yeah. Main event, AEW Women's World Title match. Toni Storm, as we all expected, defeats Mariah May. 15 minutes. 7.35 on Cage Match. Scotty, big thumbs down. Scotty, explain yourself.
They just did moves.
Isn't that what a wrestling match is?
No heat. No, they just there was no synergy.
Oh, there's no flow. There's no story.
None. There was no story.
You would
not remember this was a blood feud. And then Toni Storm won with a roll up.
Was there blood?
So no. So here's what happened. They both hit their finishes. They both had the big kickouts, and then she won with a small package. I was like, what? This is how we're doing this? And it got a big pop. Yeah, like, great. She's a hometown girl. I get that. And then they just had to rush the show off the air. And I was like, okay, sure.
They had to go home immediately.
She got the belt, stood in the corner, showing off.
No, what I'm saying is they were told you have to go home now, and they were like, sure, small package, win.
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
The fact that they ended quickly to me sounds like they might have done
right. That's the thing with the ending. It was so out of left field, and ultimately it's because we're going to be right with what we said. They're going to have a stipulation match at Revolution to pay off this feud. But it was just a moves match, and that was my problem. This was supposed to be a blood feud, right? That is what this story has been. We waited 7 months to get to this point, and they just did moves. And I understand moves are a wrestling match, yes. but there is something to tell a story within that match. And for me, this did not tell a story. This was, let's do moves, get some big kickouts, win with a small package, and go.
I'm just real quickly. I pulled up a fan cam of their All in London match with Mariah May winning the title, just to double check. Like, oh, maybe the small package was part of the story. And Mariah May just hit a pile driver and won the title.
Yeah, she hit Storm 0 and 1.
Two rolling knee strikes, small package, pile driver, and won.
Like,
that is frustrating. I can understand that frustration.
For me, it's very frustrating because we did 7 months to get to this point, and it ended with a small package pin. It didn't end with a big, like, necessary, you hit Storm 0, you hit some brand new finish, and you beat Mariah and get redemption. It was, I snuck the win out.
Well, to be fair, snuck the win out is a very WWE logic thinking. Small packages are good technical moves. There's also that argument, but small packages have become small packages have become sneaky wins. To,
you know what, Ryan?
Via
Ryan,
WWE.
I'll stop you. Remember when Willow just got tossed into the Mariah May title reign for nothing?
Yes.
That was to get to this. That was to get to the small
package. I'm defending small packages. I'm defending the idea
small
that
package, great move.
I'm defending the idea small packages can't be a finish, or it can only be a cheap win.
That's fine, but this was a blood feud.
Yeah, I agree. Throwing Willow into all of this when Willow was her hottest after that all out match with Chris Statlander, just to burn her away and never. Well, she got injured also, but
this is the match that frustrated me the most on this show. Everything else was essentially by the books expected.
Mm-hmm.
This was upsetting. I walked away from like, what was the point?
Especially knowing that the entire reason we're in Australia to begin with. Well, maybe not the entire reason, but part of the reason is this character of timeless Toni Storm.
Yeah, and now Toni's champion again.
And now what?
Great. Like, what's the point? She's been champion 17 times. She was the champion for a year.
This is her, I think, 4th title reign.
I like, where do we go?
Where do we go now?
This is the thing, because Mariah and her are going to have this payoff at Revolution.
Oh, hold on. We'll pause there. This isn't the payoff. You think we're going to do another match at Revolution?
Yes, because she won with a small package.
So we're
going to have a stipulation match.
Has to be more definitive.
Yeah, you and me talking about this last week. They have to have a stipulation now, because this should have had a stipulation. And especially with the way it ended, let's do all these big kickouts, and then again a roll up.
Is it possible that Brisbane's athletic commission couldn't allow blood? I'm gonna ask Rafe. I'm gonna ask Rafe that. I don't know if you
that's
know.
possible.
I don't think Rafe from H Bun Sweetcast, he works in wrestling. Hold on, real quickly, before you collect yourself. Rafe from H Bun Sweetcast works in wrestling. He doesn't live in Brisbane, but maybe he has any knowledge. I can ask him. See if he has anything.
When I say blood feud, I'm not even asking for blood. I'm just asking for
violence,
a heat.
Yeah,
like heat between these two.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a match with moves and a finish. 7 months. A character change like 3 times for Toni Storm. A title reign for Mariah May that pretty much everyone agrees was not good.
Yeah.
To
take away Chris, Willow, who are heating up. We talked about this. We'll talk about it more with New Japan in a moment. But like the idea of going with the hot acts when they're getting hot.
Yep.
Willow and Chris. Chris got so hot, and she's now doing a mid-card feud with Megan Bayne, which is fine. I'm very much interested in it. But the point of like
that too.
We said after All Out that Chris and Willow need to win titles.
And neither of them have won titles.
And that was September.
7 months ago.
Yeah.
6 months ago. Like, I have no interest in a Tony Storm story. I don't care. I don't want to watch another title reign of hers. When she lost the belt to Mariah, we all said, good, finally. Even though Mariah's reign wasn't good, she should have lost to someone else.
But it's also like, now that we've told this story, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are fans out there that believe that storytelling is more important. Well, great. We've now told this story.
Yeah.
Now what?
Right.
Now what do we do? What is next? Tony Storm should not hold this title for long, legitimately. Like, you say Revolution against Mariah May, and maybe they do some sort of final blow off there. What was the final? Maybe they'll do the final beat with Tony Storm and Mariah May.
The thing is, like, Revolution's so close, it pretty much has to be that.
But then it's like, what was the point of the show? You know,
to give her the moment.
Great.
Which is what we said when they announced the show last year, was to give her the moment.
But we all thought that moment was the blow off to the feud, and if they do it again, Revolution, that would suck. That would retroactively take away from this.
And I think that's what's. It wasn't a good moment to me. I don't know, man. This belt needs help, and this belt is not. It's not between these two.
Hey, I mean, Willow's back. I
like
guess
their all-in match.
Yeah,
I did.
Mm-hmm.
That was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like this one. Don't like where we're going. Willow's in a feud with Marina Shafir. Chris Statlander's in a feud with Megan Bayne. Well, she's gonna have to wrestle Marina Shafir. That has to happen. Yeah. So for now, that's what she's doing. I don't. And the obvious answer to all this is the big heel that holds the TBS title. That's the obvious answer. And she's not going for this anytime soon, unless they're giving her every freaking belt imaginable.
Which they shouldn't.
They should not. That's a bit much, you know. It's like, then she'll never lose.
Now, if I will be more okay if we do, let's do Chris versus Megan Bayne at Revolution, #1 contenders match, and then we can do Dynasty, Chris Statlander or Megan Bayne, probably Chris Statlander, let's say, versus Tony Storm, and Chris Statlander
versus Babyface. We know that they like to turn Chris Statlander when that doesn't make sense.
But you know what I'm saying.
Remember that? Remember when Chris Statlander was a great heel that had a great win over Willow Nightingale, and they said, "You know what? Let's change this."
Well, I would say they didn't say that. I think one person said that. But I digress. But
she should have been becoming champion out of that.
Yeah. And I think, if anything, let's do Dynasty, Chris versus Tony Storm. Chris wins, and then we can all move on for our lives.
You think we're gonna get Tony Storm versus Saraya again, just to continue the loop of Tony Storm title reigns?
Maybe one title defense. I don't know.
Please, I was kidding. Please don't give any belief that.
That's
a new heel, huh?
The other problem also is, like, so much of the timeless Tony character is tied in with Mariah May now, and obviously the character existed long before Mariah May, but the bulk of it has been involving Mariah May. I can't see a world of what this looks like without Mariah May in it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, now what?
What if Megan Bayne just crushed Tony Storm?
Hey.
Be pretty awesome.
Pretty good.
After I had to wait a year of her to do anything, I'm in.
Let's move on. Okay. AEW also announced some releases this week as well.
They didn't announce any.
Yeah, they didn't announce any. That's fair. AEW releases were announced by other people. They just appeared off the roster page and reappeared on others. We didn't get to talk about it last week. I think Malachi Black broke like immediately after we stopped recording Ring Post Radio, but Malachi Black no longer part of AEW, supposedly. Miro officially no longer part of AEW. Apparently there was some in the Wrestling Observer, Dave wrote that there was some belief between Miro and CJ Perry that they would continue post Andrade feud at World's End. They would be a group. They would be linked up together and move forward as an act. That never happened. I thought they also got a divorce. So that was confusing to me. But nonetheless, they thought that was going to be an act, though they were married at the time, I believe. But yes, they thought they were going to be act. And move forward. It never happened. Then they got divorced, and then it definitely did not happen.
Miro never wrestled after that.
But also, CJ Perry tweeted this idea of like teaming back up with Miro. So I don't know what the fuck is happening with that. Anyway, there's this whole thing of Miro's gone now. And then the other big one, I guess you could say, is Ricky Starks finally got removed, left AEW in
I hope he lands somewhere.
The same exact day where he disappears from AEW's roster page, he shows up in NXT. Now, he didn't show up, to my knowledge, at Vengeance Day last night.
No,
but
promised he was going to sign his contract on Tuesday.
So he is presumably going to sign that contract on Tuesday. So good for him. I guess, by the way,
by the way,
you lose Kenta and now you lose Ricky. What do you got? What do you got to hold your name? So the thing about that as well, there's a couple of things. Number one,
they should have 90-day release.
No, but I was gonna say, I guess they don't have these 90-day releases. That's good. Maybe these are officially like these were contract, all ended around the same time.
Pumped right now.
We'll see there. The roster page is interesting. We'll talk about that in a moment. Of where do we think these people could land, or how do you think they will be working? The only other thing I wanted to mention, just because I found it interesting, Scotty, and maybe this is only me finding this interesting and nobody else. But they updated the roster page. This all happened with Miro and Ricky Starks on Tuesday, right? Because then Ricky showed up on NXT. What else happened on Tuesday? What other shows happened on Tuesday?
NXT?
Well, no. New Japan's New Beginning Osaka.
Oh yeah, the real. Sorry,
where the Young Bucks lost the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champion that morning, if I'm not mistaken. This is just for me. The same day they're updating the roster page of removing Miro and Ricky Starks, they still have Matthew and Nicholas Jackson listed as IWGP Heavyweight Champions after losing the belts. Come on, guys, come on, just update the whole thing. Why are you half doing it? Come on.
I mean, to be fair, it still says Ray Phoenix is part of the Lucha Brothers and Death Triangle. Both of which, I don't know if you know this, aren't still a thing.
Death Triangle hasn't been a thing since All In last year, since 7 months ago. So, yeah.
And I don't know about you. I don't think the Lucha Bros are rocking up anytime soon.
Oh man, we'll see, I guess. But
also, I like that the Young Bucks aren't around for work, but they were around to take pictures for this exact thing.
Good for them. Good for them. Well, like I said, I imagine we'll see them next month in March when they go to California. But yeah. Anyway, so Ricky Starks in NXT, Miro and Malachi Black, presumably, allegedly, I guess, out there as well. We'll start with Miro and Malachi Black just because I think that's an easier conversation. Do we all think they're just going to land back in WWE, be an Andrade where they'll win the speed titles and move on for their life, or what? Or what do you think? They're just going to float around? You think they're going back to WWE?
They're going to WWE. That's literally been the entire conversation with them since like their 6 months point in AEW.
Especially Malachi.
Yep. Malachi especially for sure. Because Triple H took over and he was like, oh, I like him. And Miro was post the title reign with the TNT title. Let me just be honest. I don't care about either of these two. I didn't really like either of them in AEW. I don't really care if they land in WWE now. It's fine. Do whatever you want. Yeah, I don't.
What about Ricky Starks? Him in NXT already.
I'm a Ricky Starks fan.
Yes.
I have flown the Ricky Starks flag. I think he has unfortunately become the guy that AEW fans hate for a long time now.
What do you mean by, I wouldn't say hate, but what do you mean by?
I feel like they like to blame him for his own happenings, where I think that's unfair. You have to realize this is a guy who has had start and stops a number of times now, This is also a guy whose biggest feud of his career got thrown out. And he then stepped in and had the best match of his life. Yes, I know it was against Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
But that it takes two to have that strap match.
Yes.
It was incredible, right? And then like he's in a tag team after that. You know, it's like
a really good tag team.
And I liked him in Big Bill a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was nothing from there for him after. And everyone like looks at like the Edge thing, for example, right? That like back and forth. I don't even remember that until people bring it up. I just think
if anything, I think that Edge thing is a different issue than that promo, but
yeah.
I
think
based on rumors I've heard, but I digress.
I think there's a genuine idea that Ricky was hurt because of who he's friends with. Both just in standing within the company and overall, right? Because his biggest supporters were gone.
Yep.
And he also continued to support his biggest supporter.
Yeah. That
famous, I think that hurt him.
Famous video of him showing up at the Royal Rumble.
Like, I think that hurt him. I think he's a very gifted wrestler. I know a lot of people don't like him. A lot of my friends that like AEW don't like him. They don't. They think he's like fine. To me, I think I didn't need him to be world champion, but I thought he was a world champion challenger.
Yeah.
He can talk with the best of them.
I think the problem there is that I think you could maybe argue that Ricky Starks saw himself though as a world champion.
For sure.
And that could have also played into it. I don't necessarily think basically what you're describing, I don't necessarily think that like people hate Ricky Starks per se.
They did not like him this week, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I think it's more that they blame Ricky Starks for the lack of Ricky Starks.
Which I think is unfair. You know why I think it's unfair? Because there's not been a single soul other than Ricky Starks that has told us otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So until someone's willing to say this is why he wasn't on TV, what am I supposed to believe? We can't make stuff up anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like anytime right? We talked about this. Anytime Ricky Starks got brought up by a Sean Ross Sapp or a Dave Meltzer, it was like, I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know when his contract ends.
I know back when I was still listening to the Voice of Wrestling, Joe Lanta, who lives in Texas, has been friends or loose acquaintances with Ricky Starks since Ricky Starks was on the Indies pre-NWA. Has said at times, he's like, Ricky won't even tell me when his contract's over. Like, I have no idea. Ricky won't tell me anything.
Right.
Ricky,
so like
he's like, Ricky Starks told me that if you hear any information about my contract, it is a lie because I'm not telling anybody.
That's the thing. The only source we've had on anything is Ricky Starks,
who was quiet.
Who was quiet until one interview where he said, I'm ready to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got pulled from GCW, which honestly benefit to him. That he missed out on that show. Mm-hmm. And then Jericho goes and does GCW. You got to remember that. Yeah. Bad back and forth there.
But again, I don't think that's necessarily on Ricky Starks fully on that moment. But again, that's
the one thing that we always knew, or everyone felt, is that when his contract expires, he's going to go to WWE.
Yes.
I don't think that was always the point. I think he, and the way he thinks, and the where he wants to go, got to that point.
Yes.
Right? So, I don't know. I think the conversation is silly. I think it's overblown.
Agreed.
And I am happy for him.
I
am happy for him. This is now over.
I am happy for Ricky Starks as well. This should be over. I agree. I do agree with some sentiment of your friend saying that I think Ricky Starks in some ways did this to him in terms of lack of television time in
Some
terms
people
of.
just think he's bad, which I disagree
I
with
disagree with that.
wholeheartedly.
I disagree with that. I think he lost his supporters, got even more constricted in AEW with guys like Cope coming in. The rumors I've heard is
Mhm.
Cope is very protective of his finisher, and that's the thing I've heard. So like this idea of he got even more
He would
restricted.
hate current WWE. No wonder why he left.
Yeah, he got even more restricted in AEW. And he was just kind of probably at some point be like, fuck this. And people
Yeah,
were like, well, then why don't you just prove them wrong by being on TV and being the best you can be and maybe upping your value? I don't
sure.
really think upping your value like that matters anymore. No, none of these companies want to like beat people down until,
Yeah,
job them out on the way out. None of these companies want to do that anymore. They're just going to ice you. And then when you show up in another company, it doesn't
yeah.
fucking matter. Like the icing never works. I don't and part of me doesn't understand why these companies keep doing it. It doesn't work icing
They
someone
iced
out.
him for a year, and nothing
Yeah,
changed.
yeah, nothing changes. Now, granted, maybe you
He's just
can
a year
argue,
older.
maybe you can argue that Ricky a year ago could have shown up on main roster right
Yeah, you're
away.
probably right. That's probably true.
Maybe
I
I,
think you're right.
yeah, I am under the impression that Ricky in WWE. I think I said this to you on Slack that I think Ricky has a little bit more of a ceiling than he would have gotten than he had in AEW at one point. Obviously, he got constricted.
Yeah,
Um, like the fact that Penta shows up on the main roster and Ricky shows up on NXT showcases to me immediately where they see Ricky Starks. Right, Ricky Starks signs to WWE. They choose to where they're going to put him. I don't think Ricky would have chosen NXT from the jump. I don't know why anyone would have chosen NXT from the
no,
jump. But he's put in NXT from the jump.
yeah,
And even then, let's say he's in NXT for a year, right? You have all these other guys that are given 1-year contracts of
yeah,
NXT. Dragon Lee, presumably, there's the rumors of Julia and Stephanie Vaquer have similar contracts of 1 year in NXT and then up to the main
yeah,
roster with you. Maybe Ricky Starks has that. Maybe Ethan Page has that. Lexus King certainly doesn't. But I think there's this idea that he now has to prove himself again in a lot of ways in NXT and jump up. But then once he gets the main roster, he's now going to be fighting. At the end of the day, Ricky's a smaller guy
yeah,
comparatively, and WWE is still a big boy town. So he is going to have a challenge there. I fear, especially being a guy that, just visually very different than Penta, who has a very established character, a very
mhm,
established look, a really good move set. Ricky is a great talker,
yeah,
and a really solid move set. But I think we can both agree that he is a better talker than he is worker. Not to say that his working's bad, just he is a great talker.
yeah,
I fear that like WWE in their viewpoint, not mine, in their
yeah,
viewpoint, they have a lot of those guys. I think WWE
yeah.
thinks they have a lot of great talkers and solid workers. And what is another Ricky Starks?
Sure.
I fear that is the ceiling that he will have in WWE.
Yeah,
I think if anyone can do it, Ricky can break through. I just think he has
yeah,
a bigger mountain to climb while
sure.
he's pushing that boulder.
Yeah. Um, that being said, this had to be the move for him.
100%.
So
A
like that's
hundred
the thing.
percent.
That's the thing for me. It's like, well, what else was he gonna do?
The
You
only
know?
other thing that like maybe could have made sense to me could have been like, now hear me out, a TNA. Because in TNA,
Sure.
he could have gone there, been a big fish in a smaller pond, fucking
But I'd
beat
say that's
beat
worse than
beat Joe
NXT.
Hendry's ass, and then and then go into TNA, and
Like,
then would have showcased himself to the
yeah,
WWE audience via that way.
yeah, yeah. I think it's worse than NXT at this stage. Is just going to TNA.
Mhm.
My thought on Ricky, because a lot of people are like, oh, he's in NXT. They've already established what they think of him. This was a guy that was released that day, and they wanted the pop. Like
Yeah.
I don't. If it wasn't WrestleMania season, I'd be interested to see what they do with him. Because if you debut him on Raw, SmackDown, whatever, what's he gonna do? they have their plans. You get lost in the shuffle. You don't want that to happen, right? Like WWE is a weird company.
He would get lost in the shuffle if he went to the main roster. I agree with that.
Immediately, right? Instead, he's in NXT where he's the best men's wrestler by default, essentially, right? Like it's not a lot of competition. He stands out, and I think overall in time, Ricky can be the guy, like you said, to break through. Right now, he is going to be a higher mid carder, and that's that.
Yeah.
I think that's once he gets to the main roster, which again is fine because that's essentially what he was in AEW, right? A high mid carder that could challenge for the world title. And I think that's probably what he is in WWE. That being said, who are his top two backers?
Yes.
Cody Rhodes and CM Punk.
Yeah.
Who has a lot of sway? Cody Rhodes and CM Punk.
Now, granted, things can obviously change in a year. You know, Mount
Sure.
Brooks can always erupt at any moment.
Of course.
Yes, assuming that he gets to the main roster and they're both in power, you know, they're both have a lot more
Cody's
sway
Cody,
than they are.
so
yeah. Assuming that everything
anyone
still
has
works out
sway.
for Cody and Punk, then yes.
Right. Yeah. So like, I think that'll help him.
Mhm.
Again, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, he's gonna be world heavyweight champion. Because I can't confidently say that. But Jey Uso can.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
Jey Uso can, and Ricky Starks is way better than him.
You know, here's the thing about Ricky Starks that I think, in terms of that ceiling, a way to immediately remove that ceiling is for whenever it happens, for whenever the Miz finally retires, you know, in WWE.
Yeah.
Like, because I fear that like WWE people will just see him as like the next coming of the Miz.
Yeah.
You know, and I fear that with Starks. I think it's unfair, but I fear that that's what WWE fans will see him as. And Miz is 44. He can keep going, by the way, for a couple more years. So I think he has like a little. I think like because it's like ultimately, I think the Miz is the wall he has to go over.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a multiple-time world champion. So
here's
Ricky Starks would be a great Money in the Bank champion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Here's what I'll say about Ricky. He can talk himself into getting over. And if he does that, he can surpass and climb the high mountain that is set for him. You know?
Yeah.
He has the gift of gab. He legitimately is one of the best talkers in wrestling.
Yeah.
And he's in the company where that matters more than anything else.
Correct.
So it's why I'm hopeful for him. I hear the concerns. I understand the concerns. But as someone who believes in Ricky Starks, I think he can do more. I hope he can do more. He's more talented than LA Knight. He's not just a catchphrase. He's more talented than Jey Uso. And I understand those catchphrases get these people over. Yeah, whatever. I get that. But at the same time, he can also, absolute is a thing that he is already very much putting over. Now, if his name's not Ricky Starks, we'll have a conversation next week.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't said his name yet, and I'm getting a little worried. Now, it could just be because, again, it was so sudden. It's like, we don't have any rights to your name. Don't say a word. We could just do that because, you know, they have the new thing where we're going to trademark your name, but you get it back if we let you go. Right? Like, that could be it. I hope that's it. If they give him one of those awful names they trademarked the other day, wrap it up. It's over.
I'm gonna see if I can find that list real quick.
Like, it was like, oh, so bad, dude. It was such a bad list.
Which
like,
name would fit?
None of them. Better. They're so bad.
Oh,
is it his Twitter, Starkman Jones?
I think so. I think it's still that.
I hope they don't do that to him.
Yeah, just not great stuff.
Absolute Ricky Starks. That is what he needs to go by.
Yeah,
especially because you're gonna confuse the WWE crowd if everyone's chanting Ricky Starks in his debut, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, My name is Hideo Itami. You know, like, remember that? That
I
was
mean,
terrible.
yeah, I guess they have done that before.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
like, Kenta's joining us. And then he literally was like, my name is now Hideo Itami. What? Why? Like,
So
let's not do that.
So I found the list of names. Some have already been like picked out, but here's the list of names that they've newly trademarked. Which one do you think fits best for Ricky Starks? Osiris Griffin, Hayes Jameson, Trill London,
Oh,
Harley
no.
Harley Riggins, Summer Sorrell, Jax Presley,
I know some of
Mason
Sorrell's already given out. Sorry, Ricky.
Mason with a Y, Mason Holiday.
Mason with a Y.
That's Richard Holiday if I've ever seen it. Draco Knox. Oh God. Tate Wildler, Braxton Cole, Chantel Monroe, and Aria Bennett.
Tate Wilder kind of terrifies me.
Osiris Griffin is already known. Chantel Monroe is already known. Fans apparently speculate that the newly acquired Ricky Starks from AEW would take on the new name in WWE, and associated name is going to be Tate Wilder. What they
That's
think
the one I thought. That would be really bad.
Yeah,
that would be
absolute
really bad.
Tate Wilder.
Yeah. See, you can't. That's my one concern. All of this conversation we just had goes out the window if his name's not Ricky Starks.
You don't want to get on the wild side?
All right, we're an hour and a half in. Move on.
New beginning in Osaka. Great time, great show took place in the Edion Arena, Osaka, for the final time for New Japan, probably for a while, a couple years. That building is going to be set under renovation. 5,500 in attendance for this one. Big time show. Overall, great show, I thought.
Might be my favorite show of the year so far.
I heard that as well. I was listening to the newest episode of Ichiban Sweetcast where they talked about this show. And they talked about it as well.
If you're a New Japan show, if you're a New Japan fan, it has to be.
Well, they talked about it as like, they're like, better than Wrestle Kingdom? Probably.
I don't even think that's a contest.
I think they said better than Wrestle Kingdom, but if you tie in Wrestle Dynasty as part of Wrestle Kingdom, then no. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably more accurate because you throw in a Mega Kid, and it's like, it's a tough one.
This show, I don't know. This is the most I've liked New Japan in a very long time.
Yeah, this was a really great show.
I put my Puro viewing on the line for this show.
Mm-hmm.
It was worth it.
I'll say not every match was great, but
no.
If you're somebody that also watches New Japan, looks at these cards and says, "I'm going to watch from the titles onward," which a lot of people do. You had a great time. Let's go through the show itself.
Let's not talk about the New Japan Cup.
We'll go to that in a moment. But I'll lump all these in together just for timing. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeats Togi Makabe. Drilla Maloney defeats Shingo Takagi. Great Khan defeats Shota Umino. Sonata defeats Taichi. Other news bits that came out of that is Shota Umino shaved his head after his match with Great Khan, and Yuya Uemura made his return.
Holy, by the way, that guy is the ace. You felt it when he went out there.
Mm-hmm.
He is the guy.
Yeah.
He's hitting all these arm drags. And, a year ago, I was like, oh, this guy only does arm drags. A year later, I'm sitting there like, arm drag.
This guy only does arm drags. First thing he does, arm drag.
That was awesome. It was great. And people love him, which is important because they need that right now.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it literally perfect. His comeback, his superstar moment comes after that dweeb, that nerd, Shota Umino gets pumped. What a loser. Oh my God.
So what do we think is moving forward with Shota Umino? What's the idea? Do we care?
Nope.
I don't necessarily not care. It's now like a little bit of a reset to a certain extent. It's a reset with
good.
It's a reset with a ceiling. It's like,
he just main evented Wrestle Kingdom.
Yes, but it's like, all right, I'll see what this is. I'll see what this might be.
I agree. Okay, so here's the thing with Shota Umino.
Big
He
shooter.
lost to Great Khan.
Hey, Great Khan's been picking up some wins lately. But yes, I understand exactly what you're saying.
When? When has he been picking up wins?
On this tour, he won all of his matches. Basically,
I was hoping you went back to like the G1. You know, he did have that match with Naito. You're right. You're right.
Match with Naito.
Yeah, Shota Umino. You are not the ace. You are
No.
not the one. Yu Uemura is. Yu Uemura embodies what ace is. You know, forever. You know, Yoda Tsuji's not an ace. He's a Yoda Tsuji. Like I don't know. I don't know what you want me to call him. You know, it's more in line with the Shinsuke, right? That's what Tsuji is. Or the Naito, whatever you want to compare him to. Well, Yu Uemura is right in line with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Okada, right? That is what he is in line with. Just based on his presence, his ability, and the excitement I had seeing the Heat Storm.
Yes. I'll throw Tsuji in there based on the shorts alone.
Oh, listen, the shorts was a game changer for the big Suge, okay? Or the trunks or whatever they are. Yeah, I just like this opening, the back to back of Shota to Yuya. I was like, wrapped up. Good run.
Yeah.
Good. Have fun being a young lion again, Shota.
I greatly enjoyed. Not a shock for me. I'm sure you hated it. I greatly enjoyed Drilla Maloney versus Shingo. I thought it was really good.
It was fine.
Really good for second match on the show as well.
That was the best match of the first four.
Easily. Drilla looks good. I disagree with him shaving his head.
I didn't think that look was good.
Drilla has a small head. And the bigger he gets, the more weight he puts on to become a heavyweight, the smaller his head looks by proportion. I don't know why he took away his haircut because his haircut was helping.
Yeah.
So I don't know, the bad decision.
I wasn't shocked they gave him the win.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I know what the New Japan Cup bracket is, it's clear Shingo will just get his win back.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like it would have made sense to do it the opposite, but it's fine. I don't really care.
I tend to agree because then you get a little bit of an upset that way, and then Drilla can just
based on the bracket, Shingo might have to be in the finals anyways because of the side he's on. So
yeah. And then Hiroshi Tanahashi Makabe wasn't that good, but it was nice seeing Makabe.
It was sad, but it was also nice.
Yeah.
That's the way I looked at it.
Gwen Evans also brought in the chat. I didn't mention the kickoff match. I didn't watch it. Minor news bit as well was Francisco Akira putting Despy in the pre-show tag. Yeah. We saw
into their title match.
Yeah, Akira challenged Despy earlier after that great Kosei Fujita match. Now we have him pinning Despy, and now we have that set up for 53rd anniversary show.
I'm pumped.
We'll preview that next month, pretty much.
We've been waiting for Akira to get that big shot, and he has it. So I think those two will kill it. So yeah, shout out to Akira. I didn't even know there was a pre-show match.
Yeah, somewhere around here we have the New Japan Cup announcement.
They didn't announce it on here.
You're right. They didn't announce it on
socials. But we can talk about it now.
Yeah. So we'll go through and do our usual yearly predictions of the New Japan Cup closer to the actual event. Probably
week after.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now.
When is there any matches on the anniversary show?
The first matches are on the 7th.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, yeah, then 2 weeks from now.
Which is that on the anniversary show?
We'll talk about it on the 2nd, probably.
Yes, it is not on the anniversary show. So there's nothing on the anniversary show. We'll talk about it on the 2nd of March. So just real quickly, I'm going to go through and just say that we'll talk about the participants, and then we can talk about the brackets and all that stuff more later. But I'll do the participants in order of the brackets, I guess. Participants of this year's New Japan Cup are Yota Tsuji, the returning Evil. Spoiler for this New Beginning Osaka. David Finlay, Yuya Uemura, Sonata, Yoshihashi, Rohei Oiwa, Chase Owens, Zack Sabre Jr., Gabe Kidd, Ren Narita, and Taichi. On the side, El Phantasmo, Great Khan, Shota Umino, Tetsuya Naito, Callum Newman, coming back from injury, Jeff Cobb, Tomohiro Ishii, Drilla Maloney, TJP, Bolton Oleg or Oleg Bolton, Bad Luck Fale, Shingo Takagi.
Hold on. So you did it for Bad Luck Fale, but not for Chase Owens? Was that on purpose?
I wasn't doing a bit over there, and
Okay.
then later in the thing, I was
All
doing
right, gotcha. Yeah, this bracket, just general thoughts is that while New Japan is on the rise, there's still a lot of fixing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
There's still low points, I think, but
No outsiders.
no outsiders. They kept it New Japan only, which
Tells
can
me a
be
little bit
better,
more confidence in their own roster in terms
which is
of
good.
their levels right now. Mm-hmm.
I'll just say this: if Oiwa loses to Chase Owens, I will lose my shit. Just do Zach and Oiwa.
Yeah.
No one will be upset about that. Hell, I welcome it. I welcome it very much.
Yeah.
Also hilarious show to Umino had to buy. I know it's random, but very funny.
What I thought was crazy that Taichi has a bye and not Sonata. Sonata beat Taichi at New Beginning Osaka, and Taichi
Great
gets the
Khan
bye.
beat Shota Umino and punked him and made him look like a loser.
and
it's
Shota has the
thing.
bye. There was
Yeah, it's like
remember a
so funny.
couple years ago when they explained the buys. They like
Now
explain
they
like
just say it's random.
they're like this guy's a champion or this guy now they're like Shota Umino he's gonna face Great O'Khan versus El Phantasmo and it's like well hold on, Great O'Khan beat Shota, why not the other way around?
Yeah.
And also that match alone, those two matches alone, that would make sense if you turn it around, if you flip it. I don't know why they're just.
It was very simple not to do that.
To me that's interesting. If anything,
By the way, this is just Ryan versus me.
and both of us having a good time. I'm also
absolutely.
I'm wearing the red already. Shout out. So let's move on to the titles here for New Beginning in Osaka. Solid opening 4 singles matches. I do enjoy the singles matches, by the way. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Title match. Ichiban Sweet Boys, Kosei Fujita and Robbie Eagles defeat Roppongi Revice, Yo and Rocky Romero. It could have been Rocky Romero, but alas, that
would have been good. That would have been good.
Fun. What do you think of this one?
Romero, you would have been a great team name. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I thought this was perfectly good. Fine,
Ichiban Sweet Boys, good.
Mm-hmm. Yo, Rocky Romero,
fine. They're
fine.
not as good as they were in their previous tag teams with other people.
Yes.
Yo was better with Show, and Rocky was better with
Trent.
Someone else. He's with someone else too.
Yeah, who else was he? Why do I not remember that either?
I feel like Rocky's team was so many people at this point that it's just like, but yeah, it was fine. It was good. It was pretty much what I expected, honestly.
Taguchi?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, it's fine. I don't care about Yo. I still don't care about Yo. This match didn't change.
You know what I really don't care about? Taiji Ishimori and Robbie X, who are the next challengers.
Yeah, it's like
that was a heartbreaker.
I saw that and I was like, all right, that's.
I was like,
all right.
Hold on. That means Clark Connors is just tag partnerless.
Yeah, I mean, we could get singles Clark Connors moving forward,
which is fine.
That's fine. That might make sense. As
kind of has to, right? Like,
yeah.
What else would he be doing?
Yeah, it feels like maybe Clark Connors could get a good run in the Best of Super Juniors. Then I don't know if he'll win, but he might have a good run in the Best of Super Juniors just to establish him.
Win, but yeah, definitely a strong run. Maybe they get to the Final Four.
I also like looking at this and looking at the New Japan Cup. I also feel like this could be a big Bullet Club year. Knowing how this show goes, how the New Japan Cup is looking.
They're not Bullet Club anymore.
Oh, my apologies.
Apologies.
War Dogs, House of Torture.
I know you weren't talking about the real Bullet Club, which is the House of Torture, baby. I know you meant the War Dogs. Yes. It should be Big House of Torture year, but it's not. Actually, they're trios champs.
Yeah. So, and then they'll get junior tag titles.
We just need to get a belt on Evil,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, get a belt on the big man.
Cup is around the corner. Never.
Damn right it is.
Never open weight title match. Konosuke Takeshi defeats Oleg Bolton or Bolton Oleg. Yeah, great. Yeah.
The
Whenever
best never open weight title match in forever. This was everything this title's supposed to be. Also, Konosuke Takeshita, holy shit, he's a different kind of star in New Japan.
Yep.
I watched
Yep.
him make his entrance and I was like, this is the ace. This is the ace of this company. It's not even his company. But I was like, I don't want anyone to beat the new world champion, but if someone has to, it should be this guy.
Yeah.
Also, this Bolton Oleg fella, pretty good.
Pretty good.
What a beast. I love this match.
Not a hot take in any capacity, but like a guy that is 100% winning the world title in the next 5 years.
5? Hell, probably 2. Like, I don't think they're waiting that long. He's older too, so like
that's true.
But he's awesome. He's awesome. Takeshi's awesome. This was awesome. Yeah, I love this. I loved this match.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was exactly what it needed
watched.
to be for Bolton Oleg.
Yes.
Exactly what it needed to be. Mm-hmm.
What a beast.
Mm-hmm.
What a beast. The next great foreigner of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah. I can't wait.
He's not going to leave. He just lives in Japan. This is his thing.
He needs, obviously, more reps. But this is the kind of reps that he needs, you know?
Yeah.
Like this guy, 2 years might make sense. Like 2 more G1s, you know?
Yeah. 2 more G1s, win the New Japan Cup.
Oh, yeah. This guy could be a New
Japan
Japan
I could see him win like the Cup next year, depending how the rest of his year goes. That's really what we're waiting for, right? What does his 2025 look like when it's over?
Yeah.
Can he be a Cup winner by then?
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I mean, we're in a world where a lot of people can be a Cup winner. This guy rocks, man. And Takeshita, I mean, if he wants to go full time with New Japan Pro Wrestling, ever, he's gonna be given everything.
Yeah. That's the problem. You said 2 years. Well, if Takeshi's going full time to New Japan, then we'll hold off.
But Bolton Oleg overcoming him for the IWGP World Heavyweight Title.
Maybe not overcoming him, but this match as a world title match in 2 years from now. Woo! Getting the vapors.
And again, this is crazy because he's a 3 contract guy. But for the sake of the conversation, if New Japan traded Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay for Konosuke Takeshita in the long run, I actually think it's a great trade for them because he's young, he's loved, he's the answer to what people were asking about for years. Like, oh, who's the next young guy for New Japan? And if like they just get handed this one again, crazy to think he has 3 contracts, and I don't think he'll ever like fully break off from DDT.
Yeah,
but he's going to be doing more New Japan for a reason. So this is clearly something he wants to do. This match was awesome. Shut up, Bolton Oleg.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Takeshita needs to.
Bolton Oleg.
That's the bigger thing. I think the AEW thing is less of an issue than the DDT stuff. I think for him to get like more involved in New Japan, he has to break off from DDT more.
I don't think that's true.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the case of Ibushi.
He barely does DDT though.
That is true.
Like he's
but
in America.
To a certain extent, that was sort of the holdup with Ibushi, right? Sure. In terms of going into New Japan full time,
getting the belt specifically.
Exactly. If that is basically New Japan's bargaining chip with Takeshita. If you want to become IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, you need to sign a full-time contract with us. That is the bargaining chip.
I think he would.
I also think he would. At the very least, a year. Let's say he's out of AEW for a year, out of DDT a year, and then the contract runs up. He becomes IWGP World Champion. Contract runs up, and it just goes back to AEW and all these other places.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, I'm also fine with that.
Yeah,
I'd love for him to stay. This spot hold,
of course,
perfect for him.
Of course.
But yeah, I love to see it. IWGP Tag Team Champion Championship match: Los Ingobernables de Japón, Hiromu and Naito finally win after winning World Tag League many moons ago. Defeat the Young Bucks to win the titles. I didn't think this match was anything fully special. I thought it was good, fine,
I
what
thought
it
it was good.
was.
I thought the Young Bucks were on their shit.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Young Bucks have been pretty good so far in New Japan with their 2 matches.
There's a very funny thing about when these wrestlers go back to New Japan, they seem to like come alive a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like it's almost like if they could pay American money, a lot of people would stay in New Japan.
Well, it's almost like if they did just like the sports-based presentation in America, that you would see more of that.
Sure.
And instead of focusing on stories or whatever. If there was a company that like a wrestling company in America that like did more sports presentation than, story-based stuff, that would really, I think, bring out a lot more in these wrestlers. But alas.
Yeah, but Japanese fans like they just react different too, and
Of course,
I would argue better than how American fans chants sometimes. I liked it. It was good. Nothing special, but good.
Does this mean Hiromu is officially a heavyweight? Are we going to call it there?
You would think so. I don't think the junior division needs him anymore.
Agreed.
I mean, okay. I understand for like drawing, sure. But like New Japan just needs him for drawing as is. And the way he's slowed down, but I think kind of does more power stuff, I think it works. Most of his most exciting matches the past couple of years have been heavyweight things.
Yeah. I'll talk about this more a little bit if we might have to cut Noah actually, but I guess I'll talk about it here real quickly since we might have to cut Noah.
Just talk the main event very easily if you had to.
I think Noah is going forward with Kenta and Kano, and I think they can be the future GHC tag team champions, right? I think that is totally probably what's happening.
The GHC heavyweight title, by the way.
Yeah, that's another thing. But I think in terms of that GHC tag team tournament, I think that's happening. And to that extent, I think that in Noah, between Ozawa and maybe you can continue it even more with Kenta and Kano as tag team champions, I think you now have like 2 top of the card drawing acts where you can draw with both Kenta and Ozawa potentially.
Yeah.
I think putting the tag titles on Naito and Hiromu can possibly do the same for New Japan. And not say possibly, but probably. I guess possibly depending on who the challengers are.
I mean, they're 2 of the most popular wrestlers.
Exactly. But I think they can potentially do the same here with Naito and Hiromu holding the tag belts. Which would be nice, which I think would be a good move for
I think it's perfect for both of them.
I agree. I think they both really need it, honestly.
Yeah. I agree.
Especially Naito.
Yeah. Poor Naito. He does. And I think he probably told them that. Like, I think he's like, all right, man, can we stop with the singles, please?
Yeah.
Like, you look at the New Japan Cup, he's in it, obviously, but like him losing to Callum Newman.
Totally plausible.
He's losing to Callum Newman or Jeff Cobb. Like, he's not going more than 2 matches. I wish Hiromu was actually in it because it would have been, again, furthering the heavyweight thing for him.
Good point.
And probably would have subtracted Chase Owens.
Him not in it, him not in the New Japan Cup, also knowing that the best is Super
It feels like they're afraid to fully. I think this year will be his last Super Juniors.
I hope.
Yeah, well, considering he almost wins every year, that's fair too. But like they have a young core now to push, right? For the junior division that they didn't have.
Yeah.
They have Fujita. They have Wato. They have they should just push Teton. They have Akira. I would love them to actually push Teton because he's very much a part of this roster.
I think they have, to a certain extent, Clark Connors as well.
Yeah, the fact is, like, a lot of their junior division is old, right? Like, the top guys are old. Despi's older. Taiji Ishimori's older. And Hiromu was the youngest of the 3, but he's still older. And he's been around forever.
He has a body that matches Taiji Ishimori.
He has a body that included a broken neck.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is fine.
But that triumvirate is we're no longer focused on that. We have to focus on the next movement of juniors.
For me, why is he in the Super Juniors this year? Because they need the draw. They need the draw. Him and Despy are the draws, and everyone else we're trying to push up the card, right? So if they can get that within the next year, this could be maybe his last one. Again, I probably sound like an idiot. It won't be, but it's fine. It's fine. I think it works.
We'll find out.
But them winning the tag belts, good move.
Yeah.
Good move.
IWGP Global Heavyweight Title match: Yota Tsuji versus Gabe Kidd. This went to a double knockout after 21 minutes and 42
They
seconds.
didn't think of the solution of draw.
Damn it. Hey, I love that is to me great wrestling booking when you don't do draws all the time.
Especially one like this.
Yeah, when I'm fully expecting like, we're like, oh man, in a preview, be like,
how do you
do this? Who's gonna win? And, is this what it's gonna happen? And then you do a draw, you're like, fuck, of course, that's perfect.
Right, they beat the fuck out of each other. Duh.
Yeah. Great match. Gabe Kidd showed up. Yota Tsuji in the trunks showed out. For sure, that chop from Yota Tsuji to Gabe Kidd. Yeah. So good.
You want to hear my take?
Sure.
I always have a take. The best, most complete Yota Tsuji performance.
100. Scotty, this is big match Tsuji. This is great, baby.
I thought this was a great match. I actually didn't think this was like Gabe's best.
Well,
legitimately,
he's got the Omega match, which challenges.
Besides that, but I've seen Gabe like do better just in title matches.
Sure.
But this was Tsuji's match. Like
yes.
I felt that. And I was like, maybe it's the trunks, man. Like maybe this was the answer all along.
Yeah, he needed more movement, less restriction on those quads.
He's no longer just a moves guy. This was a full performance from him. And maybe that's part of the reason like I see it as this was his match and I don't like with Gabe, it's like, oh, he's done better or whatever. But it's maybe because Tsuji was just that great.
Yeah.
And it was the match you were looking for out of him. Between this and the Never Open Weight, I was like, man, this is it. This is what excites you.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about. This is the future. This is what we're building.
This is a future world championship rivalry.
Yeah. And we don't have a winner. So it's perfect. It was a perfect finish too.
Yeah.
Yeah, great match. I think Tsuji, like the funny thing is they've both had better matches with other people.
Sure.
But this was great. And like I said, best Tsuji performance, I think, from start to finish.
Yeah, we talked about in our preview is that, this match is a coin flip in terms of output.
Yeah.
This could be a great match, which is what it was, or it could have been Gabe Kidd trying a little bit too much, trying a little hard, and Tsuji again having
the sauce a little.
Yeah, and Tsuji having another disappointing big match Tsuji moment.
Yeah,
I think at this point, Gabe Kidd in this iteration is losing the try-heartedness and just becoming a generally great wrestler.
Yeah,
and I think Tsuji between this and his Wrestle Kingdom match, we'll ignore the Dynasty one, but that
didn't happen.
I think in a large extent we can start. I'm going to ask, should we start shedding that big match Tsuji stink and start looking at some big match Tsuji shine? I think we're almost there. I think I need one more great Tsuji match.
I think that's fair. It's gonna be him and Evil, so it'll be fascinating.
so it's happening, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like the thing with him and Evil is I feel like that could actually really work to the way he works.
Yeah,
the way that style goes because he's gonna. Presumably
it worked in the was it the Cup? I think it was the Cup last year, right? It worked a little bit there.
And he's gonna Evil's gonna beat him in the Cup,
mm-hmm.
And then they're gonna come back and Tsuji's gonna get the successful defense, and I think that's gonna work. So I think the stink's almost off. I think we could just say this is the guy. He's got it. But yeah, one more one more title match. I don't care about the Cup matches. He can do whatever he wants.
The Cup matches aren't big matches.
Him and the trunks are the look, by the way.
Agreed.
The trunks are the look moving forward. Like this, he looked like he always looks like a star, but he looked like a superstar. Between him and Yuya Uemura, got to be excited with those two, right? And we forgot. At the end of the Takeshita Oleg match, Ryohei Oiwa walked out there to challenge him.
Yeah.
I damn near lost my shit.
Yeah. That was a great moment. We don't have a lot of time. We have a lot more stuff to get to. But I want to real quickly. We have to do it. This is the perfect moment for us to give that update. Kid, Oiwa, Tsuji. Who the fuck am I missing? Gabe, Kid,
Poopy Umino,
Umino, Ren Narita, Yota Tsuji, Gabe, Kid, Ryohei Oiwa, and there's a sixth one. Who am I forgetting?
Bolton Oleg.
Was he in it?
Yeah, he was always in it. We always had Bolton Oleg in it.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. That doesn't feel right, but
it's right. It's right.
I'm gonna double check the roster. I'm gonna double check the roster page, but yes, go ahead.
I'm correct. Okay. Oh, this is tough.
Yeah.
There's the high class, and then there's the bottom. So the bottom, I'm still putting Shota Umino last.
Oh, poor Ren Narita. Well, I mean, not poor Ren Narita, but
Ren Narita does his job. Shota Umino doesn't do his job.
Well, Ren Narita's a champion. I'll have you know.
That's also true. Yeah, no, Shota Umino stinks. He stinks. Yeah, he has to get rebuilt.
Mm-hmm. We have
flopped that bad.
He's flopped so hard that we have had to rebuild the guy.
So he's dead last. Then Ren Narita. It's really hard because they're all hitting. You know, all four are really hitting.
Do we? Was it not Bolton Oleg, but Kosei Fujita?
No, it was always Bolton Oleg. Okay. Kosei Fujita was a junior, so we didn't include him.
Okay.
Which seems mean, but true.
So Oiwa, Kid, Tsuji, Bolton Oleg. That's your rest of the four.
Yeah. I know. I like them all.
Yeah.
I like what they're doing. Yuya Uemura, Oiwa, Gabe, Tsuji.
Yes.
Bolton Oleg. That's 5. That's 5 more. Did we just forget Oiwa? Is that what?
Maybe Oleg was not in it. I think Oleg is not in it.
Well, I'm putting him in it now. He's in it now. Oh, he's had the appearances. Shouts out to the big man. Okay.
To be fair, I would actually put Takeshita in over Oleg if we're going to add anybody.
Not fair, man.
I know, but he's got a contract now. He's got a contract now.
So okay, then Takeshita's won. It's not like you're hurting everyone by putting him in.
All right, I gotta write this in the private chat just so we have Takeshita, Kid.
We don't have time. Let's do a very long segment where we have to write all these people down because we're confused. Oiwa, Kid, Tsuji, Takeshita, just toss in Fujita. Like, who cares? Just put him in. Make this the most difficult thing. This is Ring Post Radio. We haven't talked about the main event yet.
Which is okay. So we got Takeshita, Kid, Uemura, Narita, Oiwa, Oleg, Tsuji, Fujita, and Shooter.
Send it so I can double check.
You can't put it.
Okay, you got them all. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Takeshita's at the top because we're being unfair in this world. Okay.
Yeah.
Shota Umino is in the bottom. He's in the stinker. Okay. So from here, after Takeshita, fuck. Like I have them. I have.
Here. I'm just putting this in here. I'm just putting this in here so we can. Okay, so Scotty, what are you? We need.
Jesus Christ!
All right.
What is happening?
I'm trying. This is how many people is it?
This
7, 8?
Post Radio.
How many people is it?
All right, put Shota Umino last.
Yeah.
Put Ren Narita 7th. Okay, and then put Takeshita first. All right, cool. Happy we established that. So I think my escape here, right, is Yuya hasn't wrestled yet, right?
Yeah.
What? So like, I feel like I don't want to put him at 7 because I like him a lot, but he's just getting back. So I'll put Yuya at 7, though I don't love it. Don't love it. Like him a lot. Think he's gonna comfortably be at 2 or 3 when when he gets into his flow. But got to see if he can bring the G1 performances to real time.
Yeah.
2. What the fuck? 6. I'm gonna go with Fujita. Again, feels unfair, but just feels like the spot. 5. I'm gonna go. Fuck. I guess I'll go Oleg, then Gabe.
Oh, Gabe Kid at 4. Damn.
You have to understand how much I love Oiwa.
Yeah.
Then I'll do Oiwa at 3, Suji at 2.
I feel like we also have to, we need to write this down because we always like update and go back to this. So it's like, we need
it'll change 10 more times.
Yeah, so. I think I got Takeshita, Suji. I'm gonna go Kid. I'm gonna go Oiwa. I'm gonna go Fujita.
Okay.
That match with Despy was great. I loved it. Then I might go Uemura and then Oleg.
Sure.
And then Narita and then Shooter.
My cheat for Uemura is he's not back yet, so I got to see what he looks like.
Which is fair.
Yeah. That's good though. Good list. Happy we took 20 minutes to do that. All right, so the main event.
The main event was
we're talking about all this youth. Who gives a shit about the youth?
Because we're back to the olds, baby. IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Hiroki Goto defeats Zack Sabre Jr. 20 minutes and 7 seconds to become your new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. He has honored the fans, honored his father, honored his kids. Hiroki Goto is your new IWGP IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Scotty.
This was like peak New Japan moment. Like this was it. The crowd was at a frenzy for this man. I was at a frenzy for this man. What a moment. What a match. Oh my God. Like this is why you watch professional wrestling. Somehow, some way, a 17-year story became this. Right? No one thought Goto was ever going to get this. People had given up hope. And yet, when he won the Rambo and Zack Sabre Jr. had the 2 performances he had, we said, maybe there's a chance. And I don't know if this was always the plan. I doubt it. It doesn't feel like it was always the plan with Zach's reign. But holy shit, it's the perfect end. The match itself was great. Zach was the perfect person for this because the way he wrestles.
Yep.
I thought Goto was losing so many times watching this match. I watched this unspoiled. I was on my feet watching this. I'm not even kidding. Like this was like, oh my God. Because every time the GTR was reversed, I had a freaking heart attack. Because that's the type of wrestler Zach is. Right? With the submissions and his quick pins, that's the type of wrestler he is. And there was one point in this match where Goto is in a submission. I was like, don't punk him out like this. Don't do this to me. And they didn't. Hiroki Goto won. 2 GTRs.
Yep.
In the middle of the ring.
Zach selling like death, by the way, like flopping his legs out.
There won't be a moment in wrestling better than this one. This year, maybe this decade. Like this was everything longtime New Japan fans have been waiting for. Hell, this was just everything New Japan fans have been waiting for. After last year, or the past really year and a half of the ups and downs and the ins and outs, this felt like the payoff of like, we got you. we're still New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's because of Hiroki Goto.
Yeah.
The Goto Revolution is on. The Goto Revolution is here.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's going to last. It could last a day longer. It could last 3 months. Hell, it could go to fucking Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know.
I doubt
But
it.
I'm just happy it's here. I doubt it too, but like if you want to do Takeshita versus Goto in the Dome, it just writes itself.
Sure.
That is sensational.
Sure.
And that feels like a Wrestle Kingdom main event. I don't know how long they're willing to go, but the fact we got here, I'm just now along for the ride. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, I think at the end of the day, this title reign is full on like it's Dusty Rhodes, right? It is the destination of winning the title. It is not going to be the reign itself. That being said, we already have 2 of the matches announced for
and
this
they're
title
real,
reign.
by the way.
Yeah. We have
Shout out the olds.
Hiroshi Tanahashi challenging in the 53rd anniversary show, and then Yuji Nagata also challenging against Goto after that, I believe. So we already have those things set up. Yeah, this match was great. I thought the selling between both of these guys were outstanding. The submission work, and you want to buy that Zack Sabre Jr. can retain. He is a plausible retention here, and also buy that Goto is going to lose because he's lost before. He's lost many times last year, not just for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship 8 years ago or whatever it was. But even like just last year, he's lost countless times before.
Every time it feels like he should have won, he's lost.
Exactly. And delaying that until now was a good, smart move. In other times when maybe New Japan's hotter, maybe you delay that longer. Maybe it's Tetsuya Naito and you delay that forever, right? But this is a different point of New Japan's history. And where you need, all that Naito stuff and everything, all that like hotness for New Japan, that was 5 years ago. That was, you said, were the biggest moment of this decade. That was half a decade ago, which is frustrating in a lot of ways. We're all getting older. But this idea of waiting forever is not what they can do anymore. Instead,
they already did wait forever.
Instead, what they did was a good booking thing. They established this Goto thing last year while also heating up Zack Sabre Jr. and over the course of the G1 Climax to where it made sense and made a perfect resolution for Zack Sabre Jr. to win and get his crowning moment and achievement to go into the Double Dome and win both of his main events and have that thing. We talked about it in our preview. To then wrap it back around with Goto here. I said this the moment Okada, Ospreay, and all these guys left, and everybody was crying out that they don't got any guys, and everybody needs to push the youth movement and all these sort of things. I was the guy in the corner saying, youth movement is more of an investment than people realize. What they should do ultimately is take their upper mid-carders and make them world champions.
Yeah.
Zack Sabre Jr., Hiroki Goto. New Japan Cup is around the corner. They might do it with another guy. I don't know. I think the G1 Climax, I think a guy like Taichi, a guy like David Finlay, I think guys like that are undoubtedly going to win the G1 Climax this year. They have now not only set up the idea that these upper mid-carders can now become your world champions, you don't know who's going to be it because we're having shorter reigns. I don't think we need any super long reigns like an Okada Tanahashi level reign. Curtis and Rafe from Ichiban Sweetcast, great episode outlining this. They're truly the heart of the New Japan fandom. If you want to listen to that emotion, you can hear it in that show, Ichiban Sweetcast, on the Counter Network. But they talked about how one of the issues with the previous generation of the World Championship is that it got very bogged down into like, unless your last name is Okada or Tanahashi, you really can't win this thing because it just got bogged down with so much history. And resetting the title, as upsetting as it was for a lot of people, as upsetting as a lot of was for Okada leaving, Ospreay leaving, all these sort of things, reestablishing it as something new in a new form where anybody can win it. We're getting shorter reigns, elevating guys is working. This is working. Zack Sabre Jr. in a lot of ways, I think, worked. Goto worked, sold out crowd in Edion Arena, Osaka. Hiroki Goto gets the win. We'll see how the rest of his reign goes. I don't suspect. However, that being said, I think we said this in the preview as well, Scotty. That being said, if it continues selling out, that will extend this reign.
Yeah.
The reign will be it. But ultimately, they're doing what I said they should do, which is elevate their upper mid card, not moonshot their young guys. They are slowly in the background updating, upgrading their younger guys. We just went through it. We're not going through it again. But they are upgrading the young guys in the background. Where Goto, like I said, can easily lose this title to the New Japan Cup winner in about a couple months, right? In Dominion, right? Technically. They can easily lose his title at Dominion. He could easily wait longer if this reign is successful. But like losing it to a Finley or a Taichi or another upper mid card is totally plausible.
I don't think Taichi's ever getting it. They don't ever let him win anything. He wasn't even in the G1 last year. I
think that's part of a larger story. But we'll see. We'll see when it comes to the G1. Ultimately. But what's great about going with your upper mid carders in this position with Zack Sabre Jr. and Goto and not moonshotting your younger guys and figuring out which younger guys are actually worth a damn and which ones should just reset. You not only look at the thing that's exciting about the Cup is that we can talk about David Finlay potentially winning it. We can talk about even Zack Sabre Jr. winning is, I think, a possibility, a dark horse possibility. Now they've put the time and effort, a years-long effort, instead of moonshotting, they put a years-long effort into elevating the younger guys where Kid, Tsuji, Oiwa, all have big-time shots at winning the New Japan Cup this year. Bolton Oleg, a dark horse, I think, of winning the New Japan Cup this year. They are doing what they did a decade ago, which is slowly boiling up the rest of the roster so that when they get to the peak, you have a great roster of people that anyone can win the world championship at any time, which is already kind of happening with Hiroki Goto and Zack Sabre Jr. And this is great booking, the great moment that you discussed, that Raph and Curtis discussed in Japan Sweetcast. Great match. More of this. I don't know who is next. I think we're going to enjoy the ride a little bit with Goto. I will talk about it when it comes to the Cup in 2 weeks. But in the meanwhile, Scotty, I'm enjoying this ride, and I think New Japan has a great year ahead of them in 2025 so far.
I am not taking this belt off of Goto until it makes sense.
Yeah, I think it ultimately,
from a business standpoint, from a wrestling standpoint, and I don't think that's right now. Soon, I don't. Like,
it's a question of me of whether or not it depends on the Cup winner ultimately for me, because I can see him getting through the G1 climax with the belt.
Yeah. The thing with the Cup is like I don't know. I just don't think you have him lose to someone from that. I think there's something very exciting again about him being champion and what the people are into with him, right? Last year was a year of, okay, we're going to have Naito just calm the storm for us at the top. And, you talk about taking chances. They don't have another option. Like they had to, like Naito's broken down. Tanahashi is retiring. This is what they have to do. And they had capable veterans like a Goto who is not broken down. He's just great. Right. I'd love for them to see the same with Taichi. I'm not saying they have to give him the world title, but give him a title opportunity. He was the guy we talked about then because, at the time, Goto was firmly in Bishamon and nothing more.
Yeah.
Obviously, things change. David Finlay getting sick changed everything in that New Japan Cup because Goto went to the final.
Which is why I'm really picking David Finlay as a potential winner to beat Hiroki Goto, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to it. The thing with Finley, for example, is now that they're telling the Bullet Club feud,
Yeah.
he seems to be preoccupied. I don't know if that's making him a babyface and them a babyface because of Gabe as well. That'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting story to tell. Either way, New Japan is exciting now.
Yeah.
New
They're
Japan's
set up
very
well.
exciting. And it's because of who's their champion.
Yep.
It starts at the top.
Yep.
While the young guys learn below.
If
That's why
only
you have
if
the
only there was
IWGP white belt.
if only there was other companies that could figure that out. Starts at the top.
It starts at the top. It really does. It really does. As positive as so many things can be, nothing can be firmly positive if your top isn't exciting. Right?
Yeah.
For all the positivities you can take out of AEW, for example, if the top's not exciting, it doesn't matter.
And they could have not given the belt to Goto here and continue with Zack Sabre Jr. and done the Goto reign later. Like I think Goto eventually winning it would make sense. But like they are maximizing as much as time they can get out of these people.
Yeah,
Zack Sabre Jr. was starting to cool off. All right, let's go with Goto. As soon as Goto starts to cool off, that's the moment to switch to somebody else.
Yeah, and I don't know when that will be.
Exactly.
And
Luckily, they have a New Japan Cup, Best of Super Juniors, and then a G1 Climax. And honestly, unless Goto's losing at Dominion, he could easily he might just walk in the Wrestle Kingdom as champion.
Yeah, I mean here's the thing. They are trying new things with people. I don't think Zach was a complete success like they would have wanted it to be. Yes, I know he had the 2 world title reigns or whatever, but I don't consider that a successful reign. But in the end, it paid off right.
I think it did what it needed to do.
Sure.
In terms of business success, kind of
I'm not
deflating.
clamoring for him to get the belt back.
Sure.
Anytime soon, right?
Sure.
So that again, you're making trials, you're seeing who's your guys, who's your not. This is gonna be Goto's one reign, probably.
Yes.
So ride it. Ride with it. See, you went with the hot hand to give him the belt. Now go with the hot hand to see what makes sense. Do you want to put over a younger guy in the end? Do you want to put over a foreigner heel in the end? You're gonna have these options, but that's the exciting part about New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2025, right? We talk about the puro scene as a whole. Noah's gone a completely different direction. They've gone with the young heel, and it's working for them.
And it's working great for them.
Dragon Gate has gone with the veteran ace, longtime ace. It's working for them.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of precursor to Goto in some ways.
All Japan has went with one of the Saitos. It's working for them.
Mm-hmm. A hot act in the Saitos.
New Japan has gone with Hiroki Goto, and it sure feels like right now it's working for them. We'll see where it goes, but it worked for them for show number 1, obviously. I'm sure the anniversary show is sold out or already sold out or gonna sell out. It's fucking Tanahashi's last IWGP World Title match, probably. Yeah. It's gonna, and it always sells out. The anniversary show always sells out. But that's the journey we're on now. It's next step. That's what all these Puro companies have been working on. It feels like next step. Not a year down the road. It's what makes sense now. It's very different for, say, Gato, who books that far down the road.
Yeah.
He's had to change that up, and it's the best. As we talk about a guy in America who refuses to do the same.
It feels like we are at the beginnings of a potential Puro boom. And I'll extend Stardom into that as well. Going similar with Ozawa's, going with a sort of heel shit dick that is just kind of running roughshod over the division.
I mean,
and Saya Kamatani.
Attendance is up a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. Like
both
scenes.
We got the Wrestling Observer Awards coming out, and you saw Taro Okada get significant. I think he got 3rd. I think.
Yeah.
It
wasn't a great year for bookers.
Yeah, not a great year for bookers, but you can't deny that he in a lot of ways working with Bushiroad, but that's part of the reason maybe their success. Yeah. But still, expanding their business significantly has done great stuff for them, and they're continuing to do that. Whereas Marigold is not floundering or struggling is not really a word, but they're kind of riding it right now.
Yeah.
And Suriism is going to the hot hand, I guess, in a certain way.
That's the hottest ticket in Joshi. It sells out in seconds. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So it's just the idea. I mean, look, Scotty, it's the idea of booking. It's the
Yeah.
idea of going with not necessarily young stars, which I think is the big
Mhm.
thing about last year. Not necessarily going with young stars, but going with new stars that people really haven't seen before. Sai
Yeah.
Kamatani, Ozawa, Goto, I'll say even Zack Sabre Jr., Jun Saito especially. It's working for all these people. In some ways, this is all working in Japan. This kind of works in WWE. WWE got a
Right.
boom off of Cody Rhodes in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Obviously built off the backs of Roman and all these other guys, but really it felt like it was Cody.
Yeah.
AEW, for AEW to succeed right now and to join this group,
Right.
TNA, I'll throw in there with Joe Hendry. I'll say it. I don't like Joe Hendry, but let's just say we'll throw in Joe Hendry into that mix.
Yeah.
For AEW to figure this out, they do it sometimes. They did it with fucking Hurt Syndicate. They went with the hot hand of Hurt Syndicate and they put the titles on them.
Mm.
The hot hand is not around in AEW in terms of singles division. They're distracted with everything else, but they could do this. Go with the hot hand, pivot,
Right.
do something
They
that's
can
fun.
get
and
a hot hand. It's very easy for a company like AEW to get a hot hand.
The problem with this storytelling philosophy that is frustrating me with US wrestling is that in some ways it feels like you're locked into telling a specific story.
Yeah.
You don't have to finish it. You don't have to
Yeah.
finish the story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, again, in Japan, we are seeing a rise after a long time of not
Yeah.
tickets, right?
It's exciting.
It's Puro, it's Joshi, it's not just the top companies, it's every company.
Mm-hmm.
I follow this very specifically for Joshi. It's like the thing I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Joshi Former every Friday. We like point these things out. Fucking Unagi Sayaka held a one match main event in Korakuen Hall today against Mako Satomura. Sold out. 1,600 in attendance.
Yes, for one match.
Now, I'm sure the tickets were pretty cheap because, again, it was one match.
Sure.
But it's sold out. Stardom had their biggest Korakuen at the top of the month. Marvelous. Sendai Girls is running Yogi, and it's selling very well. Like, this is my point. It's the scenes. And we're talking about Puro. We're talking about New Japan selling out. We're talking about Noah succeeding with a new guy. It's all these different recipes that are different from the norm for these companies.
Noah, by the way, sold out that Korakuen Hall show. Star
Yes,
Navigation Premium.
Yes. They're going different from the norm, and it's doing them a lot of good. And for a lot of these companies, you can see what's next. You can see what's next, right? We're talking about Noah with Kenta. Kenta's gonna be at the top, and it's gonna be hot. You know why? Because it's fucking Kenta and Noah. Like that is a big thing. For Dragon Gate, they're using Yamato to put over a young guy eventually. Like that is the story there. For New Japan, the fun of this is we're just gonna see. Like there's no set thing because this is very unique for them.
Because they aren't locked into a story that they're telling.
Right.
What they're locked into is when this thing starts cooling off, what they're locked into is creating hot acts with other wrestlers so that when Hiroki Goto cools down, they can immediately slot in another guy, and that can be the new hot act and can bump up business again.
Yeah. I mean, all Japan's very different. They just kind of got to keep running. Like they're a very different company. They have to run title matches. They got to run all these things, but the Saitos are hot. So that's what they're going with, but that's the fun for me. That's why like I'm loving wrestling so much this year is these products are hot. They're exciting. Do I love everything they're doing? No, but can I get behind it because it's working? Fuck yeah, I can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm excited, and it's frustrating to see other companies not do that, but it's great to see this, and I hope this continues. I suspect this to continue. I think if anything, maybe this is a point in time where we could get some turns. I think the Ozawa Galeno thing might have been a misstep. I think there might be an overexposure concern of the Saitos in All Japan. I think taking the tag titles off of them might be a good idea.
Always concerns.
There's always concerns, right? This is a good point where that tide can turn a little bit, but what separates the great companies from the good the fine companies is figuring that out.
Right.
And New Japan is on a good wave right now. And all they have to do is continue elevating guys like they're doing with Gabe Kidd, like they did with David Finlay, I'll say last year, like they're doing with Suji, like doing with a bunch of other guys. So they're on a good track. Everyone's on a good track in Japan.
It's good to have established people
to
help. I think that's what we're seeing is the established people help push, again, a younger generation that is ultimately taking over the scene as a whole in Japan.
Yeah.
And that's why Japanese wrestling as a whole is so exciting right now. And American wrestling is where it's at.
All right. That is it for this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. We appreciate everybody listening in. We appreciate everyone following along with us. Shout out everybody in the comment. Shout out everybody that's listening to our show, both video-wise and audio-wise, wherever you get podcasts, of course, both the Ring Post Radio feed and the Count Out feed. We have a lot of great shows on the Count Out network. If you want more of that New Japan conversation, I do highly recommend the Ichiban Speedcast episode. Jumping Knee Pod just put an episode updating about All Japan. We have a lot of great shows on the network, so go check that out. Patreon.com/countoutpod, $5 tier only the $5 tier nowadays. I have a new episode of Hustle, Loyalty, and Retrospect coming up this Wednesday. Episode 1 is already on the Patreon. So if you sign up today, do a 7-day free trial, you can listen to episode 1 and listen to episode 2 when that comes out this Wednesday. And Jesus Christ, Scotty, fucking so much shit happens in these 2 years of John Cena's career. I'll say this now. John Cena, between 2001 and 2002, 2001, he is an indie wrestler, a SoCal indie wrestler. In 2002, he's a rapper on SmackDown.
It's a lot.
There's a lot of stuff that goes down these 2 years. So a big time episode of Hustle, Loyalty, Retrospect, $5 tier, along with a lot of other content as well. New Japan Best of Super Juniors around the corner. So I'm going to do the Best of the Bosch coming up next month, I believe, going into April for Best of Super Juniors time. So definitely go subscribe. Patreon.com/countoutpod. Other plugs for me, I'll say. I had a new episode of The Ballot come out last week, talking about Los Infernales, the only new team, or not team, but only new group being added to the ballot, Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame ballot next year from Mexico, at least that we know of. Los Infernales, El Santanico, MS1, and Prata Morgan. I had Foos and Floke from the Club Lucha podcast on to discuss that with me. So you can check out The Ballot wherever you get podcasts. I also, like I said last week, I guested on an episode of the Apron Bump podcast with Kyle, talking about In Your House 14, a really fun show. In Your House 14 wasn't a great show, but a very fun discussion having about it. So if you really want to learn something, talk about some stuff, go check that out. That's all my plugs. And that, I guess, just to tie it all together, I'll do my match of the week as well, which I forgot to have prepped, but that's fine. I've been catching up. I've been catching up on a lot of different wrestling. So let's see what I got in my brain for me. I'll say, oh boy. Oh, I caught up and I watched Collision last week. And I'll just say Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher from Collision last week. That match was great. 4.25 stars. Great match. The blood of Mark Briscoe was insane. I do agree that Mark Briscoe versus Moxley could be a lot of something. I think Eddie Kingston's just more of that, just because there's more of that connection. But Mark Briscoe could easily tide me over until then. So yeah, I think that's everything for me. Scotty, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't usually go last, so that's different from me. Match of the week.
I just started talking, and I was like, oh, I'll just keep going.
I'll do the Hurt Syndicate and the Guns. Thought that was really good. It was 75-25 of the Hurt Syndicate beating the fuck out of them. And it was great because the hot tags for the Guns worked. You know, that's simple. And I think the Hurt Syndicate's the best thing going consistently on TV for the promotion.
We'll test it a little bit with Brian Cage and Lance Archer, but I think we could still succeed.
That's beef, buddy.
Yeah, that's beef.
I believe in the Hurt Syndicate, you know. So we'll see. Plugs, kind of did it earlier. Joshi Informer each and every Friday, everything you need to know in the world of Joshi. We got reviews, we got news, we got attendance, we got a little bit of everything. We got results. We got as much as we possibly can packed into that each and every Friday. That's the JoshiInformer.substack.com to subscribe. You subscribe, you never miss one. Goes right to your email. Very cool. We're keeping it free. We're not going to put it behind the paywall. There's a little donation thing if you feel like giving us a little help. But listen, we do it for the love of the game. We appreciate the love the first 2 weeks. It's been really, really cool. So that's my main project. You can check out my YouTube, youtube.com/@ScottEWrestling. Stuff that pops up there every week, whether it's my own podcast or some other type of video or so on. But yeah, it's a great time to be into Joshi wrestling. So I recommend you check those two things out. Yeah, that's it for me. I'm tired. Let's get out of here.
Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. Again, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get it. Join us on this silly ride that is Ring Post Radio. And I guess we will talk to you all next time. Enjoy your Taco Bell, everybody.